Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vainglory Professional League, bringing you guys the 3v3 winner tournament as we look to kick off and crown our winner champion this year, the year 2018. Brand new year, new update here, 2.11, and of course, we've already started here week 1 with 2 days down and on to our 3rd day. Joining me tonight is Tasty Bacon. Welcome back this year for Vis again. I think you've been with us every single season.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to cast these VISPRO games with you, Dragon, and of course getting to see, some of the competitive matches on updates that we don't necessarily get to see otherwise. And who knows, with 5v5 coming out shortly, this could very well be the last major competitive event on 3v3 in Vainglory. So this is actually a pretty big one here this time around.
Yeah, it could be the last. It's also, the final winter season here for VISPRO for to round out our year. And for a lot of these teams, there's a lot of changes coming in the pipeline for just both organizations, for Vainglory, for the whole structure. So this is kind of like that final exclamation point here. And a lot of these teams, I talked to a few of them, are really excited. They really kind of want to come in here and press because this is like their final chance, Tasty, to show organizations that are going to be looking for players for 5v5 that, hey, we're actually really good talent. Make sure you check us out, or here's our resume for some of these smaller teams. And then for the big names, they want to come in here and end the year and end the season on a high note. So we're excited to get into there. Tasty, we're going to start off tonight with our first game, our first matchup. It is Nova Esports versus Celsior Esports. And you can see Celsior with their full light up there. Actually, I think there's a typo there somewhere. That's way too many people. Yeah. Let me fix that real quick. There's someone's there twice. Sorry about that. But yeah, Celsior Esports, 15 seed. So definitely I would consider them a long shot in going up against Nova. We've seen Nova. They performed very well, maintaining their Vainglory 8 spot, Tasty, as well as just overall having that, being able to play against the best teams. They took games off of every single strong organization last season. And so that's really an impressive feat. For an organization that ultimately has a pretty young life in the Vainglory competitive field.
Yeah, definitely one of these kind of up-and-coming teams that we always talk about. And a lot of times teams that put up these good showings do end up going to the Challengers and then making a run for through the Challengers. We've seen teams rise up like Vision Gaming, for instance, who we'll get to see a bit from tomorrow, making it into the Vainglory 8 through the Challengers that kind of got their start and started to make a name for themselves in VISPRO. So definitely, sometimes these names that you start off with not really necessarily knowing who they are, you can find out a lot about just by looking into matchups like the one we have here today.
You're absolutely right. And this matchup, definitely going to be exciting. We actually were able to showcase From Mars, which is formerly Team Hazard, same roster, and they played yesterday. And again, coming in, and they looked really dominant too, Tasty Bacon. I mean, this is just what, it's really exciting to see these teams who have made a name in Challengers or in VISPRO, and then continue to build upon that and stay together. Actually, that's the biggest thing that we've talked about in the past. It's just teams staying together, and when you see them do that, they seem to have more success. Even if it's not, winning the absolute top award, it's just you tend to build that pedigree and that expectation that you're going to show up and play a pretty good match every single night. So I'm excited to get into this one here. We're just making sure that we're ready to go in the draft here. So Tasty, I'll shoot it over to you. Any players to watch for this game here that you'd like us to focus on?
I mean, for me, honestly, it's got to go over to, on the side of Nova, Truth is always one of these players that makes a big splash, but Lone Delphi is actually the player that I want to keep my eyes on the most, because he is one of these players that for multiple seasons now has just been extremely consistent. He doesn't necessarily make the flashiest plays, but he doesn't usually fall too far behind if he does get put behind at all either. So one of these players that needs to be, I really want to see Lone Delphi be able to step up and take on a little bit more of a carry role in order for Nova to make that push for the next level.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Nova succeed. It's usually been when Lone Delphi's playing fantastic in the jungle. He's been that, really strong player for them, which is surprising because he's been a jungler for multiple orgs, and it really wasn't until Nova, until he paired up with Starboy and with a Truth of Light, that he really started to show his skill, and he really improved a lot. Now, it is Eco that's stepping in as sub, as captain for this team, and has kind of been playing captain for a lot of these games. Starboy coming in off and on, so he, still a staple of this organization. But Lone Delphi and Truth, those are their two carries, and they put a lot on those two back.
Yeah, definitely a lot of pressure onto the two carries to be able to carry. And like you said, with Eco stepping in, he was playing throughout most of the most recent Vainglory 8 season for Nova, so it's not that much of a surprise to see him on the fold here again today. But looking over at their opponent, Celsior Esports, this is another one of these organizations that has been around for quite some time. Different rosters here and there, trying to find what works for them. And obviously a few changes coming in. You have Jirioku, Dark Hour, and Nick 40. Really, only one of those names that I kind of recognize from previous events would be Jirioku. So there's definitely still a lot of unknowns about this team coming into this matchup.
Right. Well, we're getting into draft, and I don't know if you were able to jump on, Tasty, but right off the bat, it is that Ringo ban. And we talked about this before the stream today. Is Ringo in 2.11, he is in a very good spot. A lot of teams are just absolutely spamming the heck out of him. And so not surprising, we're seeing Nova, since they're on A side, they don't have to risk the Varia ban right off the gate, so they ban the Ringo. Worst case, if Varia is not banned, they get to pick it up first.
And so with the bans coming through here, it is going to be that Varia taken off the board. So now they're going to go right to that Black Feather. And even though Rona is still available, Rona is still one of those picks that can work really well against a Black Feather. They're kind of challenging Excelsior to go ahead and try and take that with their first pick if they want to. But there's still the captains that are available. And captains we've seen time and time again get prioritized in the draft. But it is going to be a carry getting picked up for the side of Celsior as well. So Vox taken off the board, and then they ban away the Taka. That's one that we haven't been seeing quite as frequently.
Yeah, we saw Taka come in one game over the last five games the first couple of days. And, you're right. He came in. He was actually used very successfully as a burst hero to kind of distract from the Ringo, and he did that very successfully. But yeah, very less frequently used. Maybe a good counter for Sky when we do see Sky get picked up in the draft. Sky has made somewhat of a resurgence due to the Dragon eyes change, so that's been something we've been watching here. I'm surprised by the Vox pick, but now with when you see the Churnwalker, maybe you're starting to realize Churnwalker will distribute damage as well as the Resonance is distributing damage. There's going to be a lot of damage going on if they get a 3v3 team fight going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of AoE to be coming out. And with this Kestrel pickup, though, Kestrel is one of those heroes that can just kind of stay at range, throw out tons of damage. I'm likely to see it go into the weapon power Kestrel in the lane with a Crystal Blackfeather in the jungle. So there's a lot of burst potential currently for the side of Nova. And the Kestrel pick, that's one of the picks that Truth was really able to make a name for himself on. It was the Kestrel and the Idris, when Idris was one of the more powerful picks on the fold. But we haven't really seen him of late due to some of the changes in the recent updates. But now for their captain, the Lyra, the Arden, both still available and both very strong picks that could come through here. I feel like the Arden would be the most likely to me, just because you want the extra protection and movement speed, and that's exactly where they're going to go.
Absolutely. And we have seen Arden kind of as that second or third captain pick here. Even with the changes to Echo, which have made him a little less potent, he's still such a strong support, and I think mechanically the teams feel very comfortable. Wow, Koshka making her debut here this season. This is the first time we're going to see Koshka in VISPRO so far this week, Tasty.
Yeah, Koshka is one of these picks that comes out every so often, and if it's played well, it can absolutely take over a game. But if it gets shut down early, it can really heavily struggle. So it's definitely a hit or miss type of hero that comes out onto the fold. So we'll have to see, will they be able to get rolling with it on the side of Celsior?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be a heavy presence in the early game, I have to imagine. You know, you do have Churnwalker, so if some chains are distributed across a couple of the enemy team, the Koshka could do some damage on the front line and distribute that damage. I'm really curious to see the Vox. We only got to see Vox once this week, Tasty, and it wasn't as effective. It's really been the Ringo who's been the star, but with Ringo banned out, Blackfeather tends to be a stronger pick in most of these scenarios. And you're seeing both Blackfeather and Kestrel. The only thing here that I'm kind of curious about, and I think Nova's going to have to be very worried about, is just they're kind of squishy. Like, they don't have any strong front line. So if the Blackfeather goes in, you really need to make sure you protect Kestrel in the back line. Koshka is a good pick to get to that back line and try to blow them up.
And so we are on to the fold for our first game of the Night Dragon. And this is going to be, again, one of these matches that the early game is just absolutely crucial. But one thing to note right off the bat, Truth starting himself off with 2 crystal bits. So this could potentially be a crystal Kestrel coming through instead.
Yeah, absolutely. One small technical difficulty. We'll see if there we go. We're in the game now. Had to do a quick minor fix there, but yeah, we're jumping in, and yeah, Crystal Kestrel here, checking in the Blackfeather. The Blackfeather could go Crystal too, Tasty, but it could be double CP or that weapon Blackfeather.
Yeah, I actually would expect it now to be a weapon Blackfeather that we see Lone Delphi up in the lane. The players were talking beforehand about possibly going for this swap, and it looks like they have decided to run with it. So with the Kestrel in the jungle, it will be a Crystal Kestrel with the weapon Blackfeather most likely from Lone Delphi up in the lane. You can see Jiryoku already coming up, throwing down those chains, just getting a little bit of harassing damage on to the members of Nova. And this is what they're going to be trying to do, is just get a lot of harass down and allow the Koshka to just run wild and do her thing in the jungle, getting those levels very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. And you see Kestrel's going to have to follow that up as well. Kestrel farms fairly quickly, thanks to those Glimmer shots being able to do AoE damage in the jungle when they do the bottom 2 camps. So that's going to help Kestrel clear up the farm. And actually, from what I can see, it's just right in line with Koshka. So Nick 40 really doesn't have an advantage, which is where you want to be with the Koshka here. You're going to outscale Koshka into the late game. So Truth, you see it says winner there, ladies and gentlemen, but really that is Truth of Light. These players, I guess, during their off season or their what they felt was the off season, decided to do a bunch of name changes that we can only wonder and scratch our heads. But yeah, that is Truth of Light.
Yeah, we'll have to see if any of these names actually stick going into the next Vainglory season, or if they do change back. But for now, as you mentioned, winner is Truth, and it's just going to be a lot easier for me to continue calling him Truth. But right now, Jiryoku pulling everyone in, getting lots of damage alongside Dark Hour, trying to find that first blood. Eco is so close to falling, but he pops himself that healing potion and is going to be able to stay alive for now. But you can see the pressure that Celsior is trying to put out.
They really are, and you know, it's good that they put that lane pressure, because down in the jungle, Nick 40 was struggling against Truth. Truth able to take a good chunk of his farm away, and that's not a good look for Koshka, so you almost had to kind of compensate that in the lane. Unfortunately, Celsior, they don't pick up a kill, so it looks like Nova's going to be able to kind of balance that lane pressure now after that deep rotation into the jungle by Truth. I mean, that is a very gutsy call, and you know, if you're not going to come down and support Koshka in the jungle, then you've got to push the lane up, which I think was what Celsior was trying to do.
It definitely looked like it, but Right now, I mean, Dark Hour, he's going to be hanging out in the lane. Hasn't gone back to shop yet, but neither has Lone Delphi. And Delphi is going to be the one who takes that recall first. You got to figure Dark Hour is going to just clear out this wave and then follow suit. Otherwise, he'd be risking falling very far behind in terms of the pressure that can be applied. And so that's something that can be taken advantage of by Nova. It's one of those small things that you can look to try and find a lead on. But Dark Hour, he's going to clear out that wave and then immediately rotates down towards the shop in the jungle. Maybe he can find something with the rest of his team here, but I'm just going to be using that for protection in order to make his first purchases. Spell Sword as his first item on Vox. And we've been seeing the Spell Sword start to creep into the meta on a couple of different heroes now, Dragon.
Yeah, and it's really been like these weapon carries in the lane that have been very prominent with it. That reduced cooldown gives you increased mobility with like Ringo and with Vox. You know, you can now move quicker with those, and then of course if you build some boots into the late game, you're absolutely constantly moving, and the mobility has just been a huge priority here. But it looks like, again, Truth of Light, he has been so gutsy here in the jungle, Tasty. Kind of like really just not worrying so much about the Kashka, and it took a Churnwalker rotating down to actually even push him out of the jungle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of the way that Truth has always played. It's just very gutsy, very aggressive and forward-facing. But now with the Aftershock completed on Kashka, this is going to be members of Celsius looking to find a play. Eco taking a lot of damage, so is Delphi. The one-shot's going to come through. Tags Joryoku, but not really enough to be a threat to them. So
yeah,
can rely on the sustain here in the lane.
Kashka rotating down, I felt like just based on the rotation, none of his backs were really up yet. He could have pushed a little bit longer. You didn't have Truth up there in the lane, and with the one shot, it was basically a dead giveaway that he was back in the jungle. So they could have pushed a little bit, and that kind of that laying off of the pressure in the lane is now going to allow Nova, I think, a push right into the enemy turret. It's going to be contested though.
Yeah, you can see there's a fight breaking out now. Yummy Catnip Frenzy does go in, but now Nick is deep in the enemy team and taking a lot of damage. Here comes the damage share thanks to Churnwalker. Gets 2 chains down, but doesn't really get them down early enough in the fight for Celsior to take advantage. So Dark Hour, he was taken extremely low during that skirmish as well. Lone Delphi wants to find a fight there, but the Fountain will keep him alive. And so it looks like everything kind of going to be a little bit of a wash at that point, but still plenty of damage coming out from Dark Hour as they try and find Delphi. Delphi and Dark Hour going toe-to-toe. You have Joryoku with the damage share is going to find the first kill onto Eco. Now Delphi is in trouble as well. He still has a little bit of health remaining, just that sustain from the Serpent's Mask. It's going to pull his points under the turret, but it's not going to be enough. And it's 2 kills going over to Celsior.
Yeah, that was just a really messy push in the lane by Nova, and they're going to lose a turret for it as well. Truth doesn't be able to rotate up in time. I mean, it was a 2v2 push, and it looks like Truth might finally get a kill onto Churnwalker. Oh, wow, Fountain comes in. That was a clutch. Man, it's not looking good for Nova.
Yeah, definitely starting to look troublesome, as that's 2 more kills going the way of Celsior. Lone Delphi thought about trying to go for that kill onto the Churnwalker, but just didn't want to commit to it 3v1. And, I mean, yeah, definitely the side of Nova gonna have to pull things together here. Thankfully, they do have a very late scaling composition. You know, with the Kestrel and the Blackfeather, they can do quite well once we get a little bit deeper into this game. But for now, Nick 40 on this Kashka. This is that power spike for Kashka, getting that Aftershock, and now going to be picking up an infusion as well. Level 8 infusion to try and just make even more plays. Celsior know that this is one of their big power spikes, and they want to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and Dark Hour, after building that Spell Sword first, you're going into, looks like he could go either with that attack speed, possibly Breaking Point, or go with that Lifesteal. We've seen the Serpent's Mask make a huge comeback, but we've got a fight breaking out here in the jungle.
So much damage onto Celsior, but there's a big trespass gonna land the stuns. Eco does get the Fountain off in time, but will it be enough to keep him alive? A huge Glimmer shot from Truth will find the kill onto the Vox. Now Nick 40, he's in a bad spot trying to get over and back into this team fight, but Joryoku's going to go down. Nick 40 jumps on in, finds 1 kill, but that's all he's going to get as the ace comes through for Nova. We mentioned they need to get things together, and an ace will do just that for them.
Oh, that's a huge ace. They needed this. Believe it or not, Celsior Esports was really doing well. They had a lead in gold. They still do. So this gold miner's just going to basically try to even that up by just maybe keep them within about 1,500 gold. Dark Hour has built that breaking point. We talked about maybe he going into that second. And this is what we see typically with the spell sword and with the breaking point. You're gonna get increased mobility. You're going to get increased attack speed, and then if the team fights go late and go long into the mid game, you're gonna have so much damage coming out of you. And then I have to imagine he's gonna follow that up with a Serpent's Mask. He does have that second tier lifesteal. It's Serpent Mask, Tasty. It just does so much healing. Now that it has that increased damage.
Oh, big stun from Truth onto Lukashka. Tried to follow up and sneak that one shot through, but it does get blocked by Dark Hour. But that's not necessarily a great target to have it hit either. He's taking quite low. And now Nova, they are putting the pressure on. So much damage coming through from Lone Delphi. But he gets caught up a bit. Does block out the trespass, and this is going to allow them to continue fighting. They find one kill. The fountain comes through. Jirioku uses the healing potion to try and stay alive, but feels like it will just be an inevitability. They find that kill. Now Kashka falls as well. A second ace for Nova. And this one's going to be the Crystal Sentry taken down. And you got to figure the first turret as well.
Yeah, you said Lone Delphi had to come in big, and he is absolutely coming in clutch here. 5-1-0. He is starting to put this game on his back, Tasty, and that's what he needs to do. Blackfeather is slippery, and if you can kind of just maneuver around the damage, Kestrel is a little bit more squishy, and you can see there's a lot of emphasis to track down the Kestrel. The Churdwalker, he built that contraption early. They want to make sure they can get vision on the Kestrel. They're looking, Truth of Light, known to be that hyper carry. He's going to garner that attention. So Lone Delphi doing what he needs to do in this game. Builds a little bit of extra defense, and he's going to be able to light them up. Of course, that Serpent's Mask as well is going to give him that sustain, Tasty. And this is going to be looking better for Nova here. They struggled those first 8 minutes, but now it's looking like with the Kestrel really putting out more damage, that Celsior Lions have to be way more careful. They can't just run right into those fights. You saw how much damage they take when they drop a trap.
Yeah, definitely. Caution will be required for the side of Celsior, but at the same time, how are they going to set up these fights if they're being too cautious? They got the chains down onto 2 members, pulls them both back. A nice Yummy Cannon Frenzy, but it gets blocked. There's the big trespass, though. Delphi somehow staying alive through all of this, and now Truth coming up through the backside, going to get that AoE damage from the Glimmer shots. Dark Hour, though, with the damage getting shared, will find one kill. Jirioku is low, but Delphi, he is very low as well. You can see Truth trying to find the angle, getting a couple of tags in there. Dark Hour now on a sliver of health. The last Glimmer shot, the massive range will find it. And Nova with a third consecutive ace coming through.
That was absolutely the furthest that Glimmer shot was going to reach. And great job by Truth. He used that active camo to actually just get that speed. He could get in position, snipes down the kill, and an enormous comeback. That was looking very bad. Every time those trespasses land, Tasty, that is a fight Celsior can win, and they've shown that. And that time it was not blocked. I don't know. I didn't know if I checked to see if the Crucible was up at that point, but now you've got Truth and Light. Oh, he is getting deleted in the back jungle. Got cut out there.
Yeah, definitely going to be caught a little bit and just dropped very, very quickly. So, that's one of the things we talk about. Sometimes players not being cautious enough, maybe getting a little bit too confident with those last few fights going their way. And now it's a 3-on-2 for just a couple more seconds. It's not really going to be much that Celsior can take off of the back of this. They can get some vision control down here on the middle of the map, and that's really about it.
Right. One of the important things for Nova here, though, is that they have reduced that gold lead that Celsior had down to about 0. They've been able to bring it all the way back and even maybe extend out a little bit of a lead, and that's going to be huge because, like you said, that late game comp. Oh, one shot! Finding Dark Hour there on the top of the lane bush.
And you can see just how much damage that one shot is doing at this point with double Shatter Glass and a Piercing Spear to ignore a little bit of that shielding. It does some pretty hefty damage on these squishier targets. That's something they're going to have to be very cautious of as this game continues on, because that damage is not going to get any less as the game continues.
It's really not. Defense, maybe, if they could start building some more. But Vox does have that Aegis here. Oh, there's an engage coming out. Nova goes in, finding the damage. Vox almost down, but that trespass, it's blocked. And Lone Delphi here. And this is where the Eve of Harvest is huge, because even after the Fountain's popped, he's got more sustain. He's dropping very low, Tasty. Eco goes down.
Gonna end. Eco does end up falling, but again, a nice engage by the side of Celsior. Using that trespass has actually been really, really good from Juryoku. Pretty much every time it goes out, it's on at least 2 targets. Usually it's on 3. And they're also doing a great job of almost using the Yummy Catnip Frenzy to bait out the reflex blocks and then following up with the trespass in order to connect those stuns. So I really like the way that Celsior have been playing around this, and they finally get themselves another kill on the board and prevent themselves from falling in a team fight.
Yeah, and that's been important. Even with the trespass blocked in that fight, you could see that the crowd control started to become something that they just have to keep an eye on. Sometimes maybe focusing on it so much that the positioning's not quite there. And that time around, Vox and Churnwalker, this is a combination that, you know, I've got to be honest, Stacey, I really like. There's just, in these 3v3 team fights, in close corridors, it's going to just do so much damage to the whole team. And it's not going to do single burst damage, but that's, you know, they're not looking at that. They're looking at, you know, Koshka kind of a distraction at this point, building extremely tanky with that metal jacket already. Now looking to build some shield. Just to go in there, be a distraction, and then that gives time for Dark Hour. Dark Hour just really needs to survive these fights, and you can see it does end up building that Poison Shiv to get those mortal wounds, but also build up some of that lifesteal and sustain.
Yeah, and the lifesteal and sustain is what's going to be absolutely key. Both sides really relying a lot on the lifesteal and sustain, but the Poison Shiv with Dark Hour is going to be extremely key to try and deny some of the lifesteal coming out from Lone Delphi, while also providing some to himself at the same time. So that could be something that, you know, maybe swings the tide a little bit in Celsior's favor, is getting those mortal wounds out on the members of Nova. If you can get that onto Delphi and then can have that sustain for yourselves, it can do quite a bit. Whereas, you know, obviously, you know, with the sustain that Dark Hour has, Aftershock gives a little bit of lifesteal, and Juryoku, being a Churnwalker, has a ton of durability as well. The fact that there isn't a Poison Shiv on the side of Nova could end up hurting them as we get later on. The chains starting to fly here, but no real engagement, so the chains aren't able to stick onto a target for very long. And it looks like Vision, they just want to back out here and just sort of get that minion wave pushing, get their shop a little bit reset as you see the infusions getting topped off.
There is an active of Camo. Truth, I think he's being pretty patient here. He wants to catch Dark Hour. He does! Dark Hour, you see the reflex block there. I think that was just to keep him from dropping below critical health there. Worried of a couple of glimmer shots coming in. Maybe another active Camo.
Yeah, definitely did drop him low. Was a little bit scary there for Dark Hour, but was able to get out alive, recall back to shop. But like you mentioned, you know, the Crucible was used to make sure that he didn't fall. So that's 20 seconds that the Crucible is not going to be available still for the side of Celsior. And Nova, obviously, it's something that you can try and take advantage of. If you know those timings in your head, you can try and force a fight right now, but Truth just isn't quite in position to find a fight at the moment. Instead, they have to just back off, and the Crucible will be available now for Celsior once again. Truth
of Light is building this pure glass cannon build. No defense, just one pair of tier 1 boots to boot. And this is really touch and go for him if he gets caught out. But then again, the amount of damage he does from a distance, as Nova actually looking to possibly engage here as they clear out some of this vision.
Yeah, lots of vision getting popped, lots of vision getting put down by both sides. That's a lot of damage though from these glimmer shots. Dark Hour already being forced out of the fight, and the Koshka's just deleted. The gauntlet goes down. Will get reflex blocked, but now Dark Hour's in a difficult spot with Delphi on top of him. He's going to fall. Now Jiryoku has nowhere to go. One shot is going to take him out, and that is a late ace for Nova. Crystal Sentry's going to get defeated on their way out, and then they can start up the Kraken. These fights have just been so crisp from the side of Nova.
All tasty, and that is where the Crystal Kestrel comes in absolutely clutch. That was, even against Churnwalker, just chunking through the health. Again, the key for him was truth. He just had to stay on the back line. And, you know, with Nova being the ones aggressing that engagement, like they were the ones pushing the engagement, it just meant that when Koshka eventually went in, there was nobody following with Koshka into that fight. And Truth was really quick on the fingers, able to go, get out of there, get into position and actually stun up the Koshka. Once Nick 40 was active camo stunned, it was lights out for him, and then that that fight went completely in Nova's favor. And that's what Nova's looking to do every single time, and I feel like Celsior Lions can counter that. It's a predictable strategy to start of each fight, but it's one that's so hard because one mistake and you're just going to be facing so much damage in the face. And again, Nova looking to be the aggressors here as they push up with Kraken.
And with Kraken pushing in, they're going to take down this choke point turret. Kraken's getting pretty low, but are they looking for a fight now? You can see Lone Delphi going pretty aggressive, but didn't have the full support of his team in that instance. So they are going to have to back out and will be satisfied with just taking down that choke point turret and getting into the base of Celsior. They're going to need another push or another team fight in order to start getting those turrets. But oh, is this going to be... Okay, I wasn't sure if he's going to set it up. There's the big stun coming through. I thought he was going to go for the multiple trap
I did too. He
play
didn't
there,
get those in, though.
But he did back off, got a ton of damage down. But again, they're so close to the base that Celsior can just back away and go heal up.
Yeah, he had two down, and I think right before he was going to put down the cooldown on the spawn of that timed up, and the positioning, he got out of position because he saw Celsior coming in there, but there's another active camo stun. Again, this is just not good for Celsior Line now. They just cannot seem to move anywhere in the map without walking into one of those active camos. And the damage coming out of Truth. He built the clockwork. He's building another crystal item. By the end of this game, he is just going to be absolutely insane, but also squishy. And it just seems like Celsior Lions have to find a way, if they're gonna turn this game around, they just have to find a way to get onto and eliminate Kestrel, because even from a distance, he can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's really difficult to choose which target you want to go after against this Nova comp, because obviously the Kestrel is going to be sitting on the back lines the whole time, and dishing out just tons of damage, but at the same time you have Lone Delphi in your face dealing a ton of damage as well. So it's really difficult to choose which one of those targets you want to go on, but you ultimately need to make the decision to go after the one that is the squishier target and doesn't have as much maneuverability, and that is Truth on this Kestrel. So I do agree with you. I think that needs to try and be their priority target, but it can just be so difficult to actually get onto that target in this situation.
Exactly. When you're dealing with one of the best Kestrels out there, it's hard to saying it on paper. It's easy, but actually executing it in the game can be very challenging, especially like just as far as it's gone. He's infused. He's got 4 crystal items. He's building a 5th. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts what this guy could do. Definitely, don't try this at home, kids, because this is not the easiest way to win a ranked game. If you're not very skilled with it. One shot, one kill.
Not only that, but it requires a lot of coordination from your team to keep you alive, because again, you are not building any defense. You are all in on offense. So if you get caught at all, or if your opponents are able to get onto you, you just get melted. And that's one of the reasons why it is so difficult for Celsior to take down Truth on this Kestrel, is the fact that he has his teammates there to protect him and be diversions so that they don't target him. Like right now, when Delphi is going in deep, their Kestrel's getting free shots off. Here comes a wait for it. It's going to get blocked. Lots of reflex blocks have been burned already, though. Now that's a big one shot. That's going to take down Jiryoku without using his fountain, and that is devastating for Celsior, as now Nova will just clean house, find themselves another ace, and with the long death timers, that should also be the game.
Yeah, and that blocked the wait for it. It also blocked the Churn Walker's trespass, and that was huge. Great block by Eco there. He absolutely needed to come in clutch at that fight, and he did, and that kept his team mobile. And Blackfeather, Kestrel, if they're mobile in a fight, and if you can't get on them, that's going to be GG for you. That is GG for Celsior Esports in this game 1, as Nova takes it. You know what, though? Took them 23 minutes to win this game, Tasty, and we're talking about a 2nd seed against the 15th seed. Celsior really have to feel good about their performance. They gave Nova an extremely hard time.
Yeah, and let's not forget, the first 8 minutes of this game or so belonged to Celsior. Like, this was a game that they were putting on a very strong performance, but unfortunately, when it came to the team fighting, Nova was just a little bit more precise with their movements and a little bit cleaner with that execution. So Nova will take game number 1, but Celsior, as you mentioned, they did put up a good fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can bring to the table in game number 2.
No, absolutely. This could really be interesting. I'd love to see the Ringo play come out here. We've seen some impressive Ringo styles, so this could be, when we go to B side, something we see. Varia might not get banned. We basically expect Varia to be banned every time, Tasty, but it does come out when we see target bans like a Kestrel ban on A side and then a Ringo ban on B side, which we saw once before. So kind of excited to see how that will turn. We're going to get ready, though. Let me just check with the players and jump into the second matchup here. But Celsior really giving Nova a run for their money, Tasty. That was not an easy game for them. And, again, late game, that Kestrel was doing a lot of work. But early on, they struggled. And even the Kestrel struggled. Truth was, maybe being a little too aggressive. Again, a lot of damage, but no defense. So when he did get caught out, his whole team ended up paying the price for it.
Yeah, another reason for the way this game kind of played and why it took a little bit longer than you might expect for Nova to have been able to close out that one was just the compositions as a whole. Nova just had a later game composition that, Blackfeather as a weapon Blackfeather and a Crystal Kestrel, they both take some time. You need to be at 2 or to 3 items before you can really start to output the damage. Whereas, Kashka and the Churnwalker, they're both able to dish out a lot very early on, only really needing 1, maybe 2 items before they feel comfortable and confident in their ability to fight. So definitely a great job by Celsior to use their item spikes early on, but unfortunately for them, they just weren't able to really garner enough pressure to put Nova behind to the point where they could try and take down those turrets in the lane and look for the victory.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. All right, just checking in. Looks like we're ready to start draft for game number 2. Gonna just confirm that with both the teams, so we don't start prematurely here.
The draft begins.
And here we go. Into game number 2 with Celsior Esports moving over to A side. And this is, where we typically will see a prioritization ban against the B side team, and then we'll see Varia banned on B side. And that is going to be that Kestrel ban, which is clearly a priority to take Kestrel away from Truth.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of the situations where whether it's a weapon or a Crystal Kestrel, it's incredibly strong for them. So it's not really a situation that I feel like that's a wasted ban or anything of that nature. I think it's still a very strong ban. Varia is going to be the choice for the side of Nova, and that means Churnwalker does get through once again, and he's first pick worthy this time for the side of Celsior.
He is, and you know what? They actually played Churnwalker great, so I was impressed with the play, Tasty, from Jurioku. He did a great job, and I think that that's something that they should feel good about. And so clearly they realized, they identified that. I think that's one of the hardest things when you lose a game is identifying the things that work, the things that you played well, and sticking with that. Because if you change too much too quickly, it can really throw off your rhythm, even in a loss. And I think that the way they played wasn't that bad. We are going to see that Lance picked. Interestingly enough, though, before we started the draft, we did get a substitution from Nova. It is Starboy subbing in, so this is likely Starboy on the Lance, and he's a pretty proficient Lance.
Yeah, definitely one of these teams that really performs well with the Lance. There's a couple of teams that you really think of when you think of strong Lance play. It's kind of Cloud9, Rogue, and Nova are the three that come to mind most frequently. So it's a bit of a comfort pick and one of these picks that can still have massive impact on games. It's one of I was very curious as to the fact that at Worlds we didn't really see much Lance being played, and it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me because he was extremely dominant during the regular season.
It was, we always see those championships create a micro meta unto itself, really unique to itself. And that's just the fact that you have regions from different sides of the globe facing off. But there is going to be the Ringo pick on B side. And, with Sky banned again, Celsior, in fact, we saw Sky banned on A side by both Nova and now Celsior. That leaves that Ringo open, and I'm questioning that, Tasty. I know Sky is actually in a pretty good spot, but I feel like Ringo is the stronger pick.
A lot of the Sky ban is just to leave open other opportunities as well, because there's so many heroes that you don't want to run if a Sky is still available as a final pick. So I think that's kind of one of the reasons why the Sky is a second ban, because teams aren't really worried about playing against it. It's more so you're worried about it being that last counter pick when you're on the A side. So that's why both teams kind of took it off the board on the A side instead of, seeing just one team specifically banning it away. Because if you leave the Sky open and you run something like a Kroll or a Rhyme or a Rona or any of these melee heroes that aren't as extremely mobile as something like the Black Feather, then all of a sudden you open yourself up to the hard counter from the Sky, and there is going to be this Rona coming through. Black Feather Rona was such a strong duo at Worlds. Whenever teams got these two heroes together, they almost always performed exceptionally well. And you pair it with a Churnwalker as well. There's just such a strong team fight composition there.
Absolutely. I love the Rona pick with the Black Feather Churnwalker. We've seen the Rona with the Churnwalker multiple times, and it really does a lot of work. Rona, because of the buff to Serpent's Mask, Rona is in a pretty good spot, Tasty. We see that Serpent's Mask build early on her, and that gives her that sustain that she was somewhat nerfed out of with some of the other changes to her kit. Nova's going to follow that up with that Cruel pick, Tasty. And that's definitely a counter to the sustain comp here, the bruising sustain comp. There's not a lot of crowd control from Celsior Esports, so this is where Cruel could do a pretty good job. And, I don't know if he can 1v1. I mean, he could probably 1v1 the Rona, but in a team fight, he's definitely got to play really well, because with Black Feather and Rona, there could be a lot of, changing of the positioning from that Churnwalker that can put Cruel in a bad spot.
Yeah, these team fights are going to get very, very hectic between the Churnwalker and the Lance, right? And then so many brawling melee heroes. They're going to be trying to dive onto the Ringo, but if they can't get onto the Ringo, if the Lance and the Kroll are able to do enough to keep this Ringo safe, then Ringo will be able to just start melting through opponents. And oh boy, we have a bit of a situation as we load onto the fold. Some role swapping going on for the side of Nova. Starboy will actually be the one on this Ringo, with Truth playing the Lance. It says winner 1337. That is Truth. For those of you who may be wondering who this player is, that is Truth from Nova. He has changed his name, at least temporarily. We'll see how long that lasts, but for now, winner 1337 is Truth, and he will be playing the Captain Lance this time around.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this is not a matter of them not switching, because we actually load into the game on private since the draft's done on the client, on a separate client, that is. So this is Starboy. He wants to show his Ringo stuff, and Tasty, if you recall, that the early days of Starboy's career, he was a pretty proficient laner with both Vox and Ringo. So this is definitely something that he could pull off.
And I also will say, in chat before this game started, there were comments as Truth actually is going to get in a bit of trouble from Juryoku, but they turn it around once the rest of the team shows up. So now Juryoku, one that could be in some trouble here, as Starboy getting lots of damage down with this Ringo. Kroll going to make his way in, and Lone Delphi, who's he going to target? He goes on to Darkest Hour, so they switch targets now, trying to just find a kill here onto one of these carries, but they finally decide, you know what, we'll take the one that was already low, get the kill onto Jiryoku, and set up a double kill. 2 kills right off the bat for Lone Delphi on this Kroll. A great start for Nova.
A very powerful start for Nova. And Starboy, you know, great job early on the Ringo. They actually went after that Churnwalker first, you know, put him so low that he couldn't really be at front line once they started turning their attention to the carries. Truth on this support, Lance, maybe being a little gutsy. As he pushes, he always seems to push pretty far into the jungle, whether he's a carry or in this case a support. Interesting rotation though up at the top lane. They're actually kind of slow. It looks like Dark Hour will be able to push this wave up. I spoke too soon. No, he won't.
Well, while we do talk about the lane, I think we should point out Starboy looks to be going for a crystal-powered Ringo into this composition. So, I mean, I've never been a huge fan of the crystal Ringo in any capacity, but I could see it making sense here because you are up against so many melee heroes on the opposition that they will likely be grouped up quite heavily. And the, well, just burst damage could do some serious work, but down in the jungle, actually wasn't even really keeping an eye on the jungle. I was watching the CP Ringo for a little bit. It is a quick kill going over to the side of Celsior. Yeah,
I caught it just in the nick of time. Basically, Lone Delphi got caught out, and his team just left him there. They said, yeah, we're not going to come down and follow. Starboy just getting the farm here is going to allow them to push the lane up a tad. But I don't know if it was worth giving up that kill. They got first kill. They got first blood. So Nova, as far as gold's concerned, sitting pretty tight. They've about a 500, 600 gold lead at this point, which isn't too bad in just the first few minutes. But you got to be careful. This Rona, you know, you really want to snowball if you can, because Rona into late game is a sustained monster. And you know, we talked about how, you know, they made changes to her kit to reduce that sustain a little bit, but then they did buff the Serpent's Mask. Serpent's Mask is that powerful lifesteal item that, you know, is pretty famous for being an item that Rona likes to build. And that, of course, no surprise, goes really well. Starboy might be in a pickle.
And definitely in a bit of trouble here, but is going to be able to get out of it pretty handily with the help of Truth rotating on up. And they're able to just kind of dissuade the members of Celsior from trying to commit to anything. He's just going to continue farming. I want to keep your eyes on the CS totals for the lane. And you see Starboy off to a pretty good advantage here, 35-25, as they start to clear out this wave. So as the rotation comes through, we'll see if Darkest Hour, you know, how much he makes up by clearing out this wave that was crashing underneath the turret. But either way, it's still an advantage over to the CP Ringo.
Yeah, Lone Delphi had tried to counter jungle on the other side of the jungle, and unfortunately got that tree all the way down to minimum health, and then Blackfeather came in and flipped it away. So he's struggling a little bit to get an effective counter jungling moving. You know, his rotations are good. He's just not getting the last hit, so, or he got caught out the previous time as well. We are going to see at least 2 members of Nova come down while all of Celsior Alliance rotating together. Celsior Alliance rotating together very nicely. Like, they are keeping this a very tight 3-man rotation and going to catch Lone Delphi out again.
Yeah, and that's a result of that 3-man rotation you were just talking about, Dragonborn, able to use their numbers advantage to find that kill. Now they're going to continue chasing on to Truth. He gets underneath the turret, and they get a stun underneath the turret as well onto Dark Hour. He does jump away, but here comes the Hellfire Brew. It's going to connect. It's not going to do enough yet to find a kill, however, although that burning damage does bring him down awfully low. It's going to be difficult for Dark Hour to stick around after that one and try and get, obviously wants some sustain off of these minions, but once he gets close, Starboy is going to try and take some shots at him. You can see the damage from the Achilles shot, absolutely chunking him down alongside the Aftershock, doing massive damage and finding another kill.
Yeah, and you know what? Starboy, great heads up, uses his Hellfire Brew after he saw Dark Hour use his Healing Flask. So, you know, again, Dark Hour took way too many turret shots, had to use the Healing Flask to just survive that. And I believe the Fountain was used as well.
Oh my
so,
goodness.
a ton of healing. Oh, was that? Did I miss something in the jungle?
I'm just laughing at the build from Starboy, going for the straight cooldown build. Just being able to fire off those Hellfire Brews as frequently as possible, as he does finish off the Clockwork. And, you know, Clockwork makes sense whenever you hit with an ability. So every time you use your Achilles shot, you get a little bit of cooldown back from your onto your ultimate. So it's not an ideal because you only have that one ability, but you can still see he's going to throw out these Hellfire Brews so frequently and just try and really ramp up the damage on him.
No, absolutely. But definitely, you know, that's going to be the name of the game. And, you know, we usually see this Crystal Ringo work well in the mid game. It's the late game that it struggles typically because you're actually, that mobility we talked about with the cooldown, when you're actually proccing a Hellfire Brew, you're not very mobile. But there's a nice heads-up play by Truth on that Lance to lock down the Churnwalker, and Starboy followed up.
And again, the whole thing with this cooldown Ringo and the item changes for the CP Ringo is there's a Hellfire Brew going to connect. That burn damage should be enough. Well, there is a heal coming through. The Rona trying to spin is not going to be able to prevent herself from falling. Does find a kill in the process. And I don't think Nick 40 is going to be able to stick around to try and defend this turret. Gets the healing fountain, though. The Fountain Renewal coming through from Jiryoku as he returns to keep the turret alive. But Truth rolling himself over the wall, playing a game of Ring Around the Rosie with Nick 40, and should be able to get himself out. Nick 40 had an idea of what was up throughout that on point to try and catch him, but couldn't quite find his target. And going back to the CP Ringo, the one thing that really big change, I think, that kind of helped with an idea around the CP Ringo is the change to the Broken Myth. Previously, Broken Myth wasn't that great with the CP Ringo because you had to build up and then fire off the Hellfire Brews. But now that you don't need to buy that ramp up, you don't need to buy the Dragon's Eye, you don't have to worry about that ramp-up damage. You don't have to be in a fight before throwing out the Hellfire Brews. You can just throw them out whenever you feel like and still get maximum damage out of them. So it's definitely going to be an interesting game as we go further on. But right now, the damage coming out of Starboy is pretty immense as he's going to find Jiryoku. That's going to be the Healing Flask trying to keep him alive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these Hellfire Brews, at the very least, are going to bait out all of the sustain out of Celsior, which is absolutely a good thing, because once you actually have the team fight, there's just nothing left in the tank. They're going to finally get that turret, because they did lose a turret, so they finally trade it. Nova had the gold lead even after losing their turret first, so now they've extended that a little bit with about a 2,500 gold lead, and then finding Nick 40. Oh, it gets deleted.
And does get deleted now. Jiryoku, he's going to be dropping as well. This Ringo starting to bring some serious damage as they find another one. That's an ace for the side of Nova. They're going to be able to take a second turret off of this. My goodness, the amount of damage coming out of Starboy's CP Ringo is rather surprising, considering what he has built with just the Aftershock as really being the only raw damage in the build. He's just relying so much on that massive burst, and he does go for the Dragon's Eye. This is one that I'm not a huge fan of, just for the way that CP Ringo works. I'm not crazy about the stacking damage item. I think a Broken Myth would have been a better choice just to get that extra pierce when you aren't throwing your Hellfire Brew, or just a Shatter Glass for the flat raw damage. But either way, we'll see how it works here. That's an interesting use of a Fountain of Renewal there for Truth, but it does get used. That's going to be about a minute that they won't have that available to them.
Well, if anything has been surprising, it's the fact that, you know, this whole drafted composition is completely off the wall, and yet, you know, they're still finding ways to make it work. These guys are so skilled mechanically, and that's really what they're playing off of right now. Hellfire Brew coming out again, looking to do more damage there. The tick damage coming on to Dark Hour, just so potent right now. Our boy is stunned up though, but Nice from Hell's Heart to come in and follow through to lock up that Black Feather.
There's the big double Githian wall. That's one of the reasons I love this Lance pick so much. They do find the kill on the Starboy, though. Now Lone Delphi and Truth will be in a bit of trouble. 2-on-3. Should be able to get out of there without any issues, though, as you had already seen Nick 40 back away from that fight. So just one kill going over to the side of Celsior in that situation.
Yeah, not a horrible loss, a really bad positioning. And of course, you see, as soon as they lose Ringo, there's just not the same level of damage output between Cruel and Winner. So, Truth, that is. So they kind of have to back out of there. They did get away. They did finally, Truth finally got a last hit on the Treant. So some counter jungling was successful there prior to that disengage. But Celsior Lions, they have to feel pretty good. They're down in gold, but these fights really don't feel like they're behind. They're able to, if they could get the initiation off first, or if they can survive some of that early damage from Starboy, they're in this game.
Yeah, definitely. It's if they can catch someone out really as well. If they can get, like we just saw, they caught Starboy out, were able to take him down. They didn't really commit to trying to find a fight afterwards because, like, it's really tough to feel like you're even or close to even in a game when you are this far behind in terms of the kills. And even with a 4K gold deficit, like you mentioned, Dragonborn, they're not really that far behind when it comes to these fights. Here comes the Hellfire, but that's a very early Crucible, though. Nice block by Dark Hour. Will prevent that. There's the big stun comes through, though. The Boomerang stun will land, and now Starboy just trying to get this damage down. That's Trespass gets interrupted by the kill and doesn't go off for the stun. And just like that, Nova are able to find 2 kills. If that stun goes through, they likely are able to take down Truth in this situation. And now it's just going to be Nick 40 having to try and run for his life. He does get underneath the turret. Delphi not going to want to commit to diving under that turret right now. But Nova finding more kills and going to take a few more advantages.
But that was the problem, Tasty, is even if they got that Trespass through, they'd only take down Truth. You'd still have both Starboy and Delphi still up. Those are the 2 people doing the primary damage, as we see another strategic fountain being used there. Really the problem, Celsior Lions, if they don't take out the carries early, I think they're going to struggle in those fights. So they need them to be long fights. Rona does prefer the fight to last a little bit. Of course, the Crystal Blackfeather is just going to be fine with the burst damage that he's outputting. But they can't be happy just taking out Truth. They do need to make sure they focus on that Ringo. That is where the most of the damage is coming from for Nova.
Yeah, and it's not just the Hellfire Brews either. A lot of times when you think of the CP Ringo, you think, okay, he's just looking for that big Hellfire Brew, and that's it. But at the end of the day, he does do crystal damage with his A and his B, and now he's going to be finding some big damage here. Nick 40 going low, the fountain comes out. They are going to be trying to find a nice impale, and they find 1 kill onto Rona. Now Jiryoku, he's got nowhere to go. Starboy gets the damage over the wall, finds that kill, and is going to be able to set up another team fight victory for the side of Nova. And now, Nick 40, he gets caught on this rotation. Thought he was safe, but Lone Delphi was waiting for him. But the slows going to be enough to keep him safe. Not quite, because the smite comes down. And Lone Delphi secures the ace for Nova.
That Hellfire Brew was absolutely perfect. And really, I don't know what Celsior Esports were doing getting caught out like that. They were sitting down in the shop, and, again, Vision got placed on them. The Hellfire Brew comes out, and they didn't move. Absolutely a huge mistake on their part, because you got to know that's going to be something Nova's going to be looking for. They're going to be trying to use some flares, maybe even some scout traps to catch you out early to get that damage, and to get proc the Hellfire Brew on all 3 members of Celsior Esports. It's just absolutely a disaster for them.
Well, right now, what's Celsior going to be able to do? It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot available to them. Hellfire Brew gets blocked. He still does a hefty chunk of Dark Hour's health, even with the block. Nice Githian wall. It's going to be a double stun onto Nick. They're trying to get onto Starboy, but they just can't get past this front line. Finally, Nick 40 gets onto the back lines, but he is just melting and has nowhere to go. He ends up falling to Starboy. They're going to find a second kill now. Will Dark Hour get out alive? They want to try and chase this, but I just don't know if they have the movement speed.
Oh my goodness.
Does get the stun into the Githian wall, and Truth finds the kill, finishes that one off, gets the ace, and now Nova are able to push in onto this tier 3 turret with ace buff minions. Meanwhile, Lone Delphi is just going to be able to easily solo this Kraken on the weapon Krull and take that down as well. Nova just absolutely running away with this one.
And with the 11,000 gold lead, just looking at the items, you know, the Crystal Blackfeather is so far behind where he needs to be at this point to be able to go up against that Ringo. Go up against the team in general, just really struggling. Doesn't quite have the burst. This could be Nova ending the game right here. You know, Truth has done a great job blocking out those trespasses. And there's another Githian wall. Oh boy, yeah, Nick is just absolutely deleted.
Yeah, the catching out that Blackfeather is gonna make this push that much more successful for the side of Nova, as they have the Kraken marching her way down the lane. I don't even know if they're gonna wait for the Kraken at this point, though, as they're looking to try and catch out members of Celsior if they can. Celsior playing smart and keeping themselves back towards the far side of their base, but there is going to be an engage here. That's going to be Jiryoku taking a lot of damage. Are they going to find the kill into Dark Hour? No, he gets onto the fountain to heal up. Now here comes the Blackfeather. The trespass does get blocked out, and Jiryoku is just melting. So is Delphi, though, in the thick of things here. Starboy ends up actually being the first one to fall as Nick 40 got onto the back lines. Now Delphi, he's going to get taken down pretty low as well. Pulled back, and they get another shutdown. Can they find this kill onto Truth? They're just going to turn their attention onto the Kraken instead. So Celsior are able to find 2 kills there, and they're going to be able to stop this Kraken from completely destroying their base, but not before it gets one of their Vein Crystal turrets.
Truth unable to get over the wall with his combat roll. Now I think he's just showing off, but a little bit of a misplay there by Nova, because honestly they didn't need to give up 2 kills in that push, and unfortunately they did. Could have been a few factors for that, but ultimately when the Blackfeather finally gets his damage on, when he finally is racking up those stacks, I mean, he is going to be packing a big punch, and that's something I think Nova maybe underestimated. He still doesn't have the Broken Myth yet, but just the Aftershock and Dragon's Eye, if he stacks that up enough, it is going to be a lot to deal with.
Yeah, there is also the fact that Truth has been using his Fountain of Renewal rather liberally, as it is on cooldown once again.
Tasty. It's strategic.
Yeah, strategically. We'll assume positive intent, as they are going to be finding another fight potentially here in the next couple seconds, and they're not going to have that fountain available, but it doesn't look like they're going to mind that much as Dark Hour tries to jump onto this backline, gets impaled and knocked away with the Githian wall. Starboy getting a lot of damage down with CP Ringo. Here comes the Hellfire Brew. That's going to just pop the Rona. It is a 1-for-1 trade thus far, though, as Nick 40 is going to be able to find a second kill. It's a 2-for-2. Now it's just a 1-on-1 fight. Starboy CP Ringo versus Nick 40 CP Blackfeather. But the Blackfeather is very low already and in some trouble as Starboy catches him. He doesn't hit that on point, and Starboy throwing out the charm. He knows he has him dead to rights here, and just going to chase him down and toy with his food a little bit. Hellfire Brew.
This is so risky,
gonna come out.
Oh, it gets blocked out.
It gets blocked. There's no burn damage now. Oh no, Nick, you had to just keep running. He shouldn't have tried to recall there. He is going to end up going down. The ace does still come through, and now it's 40 seconds that Nick 40 will not be available to help his team out in this situation.
Starboy, you masterful troll. I mean, he got the kill, but he wanted to make sure he threw a taunt in there, and then he wanted to make sure he threw a few recall animations in there before the kill was finished. They do end up getting it, and it looks like they're going to finish this off right here with that root. You know what? In that last fight, prior to this, there was one trespass that finally got a stun. It got a stun on the Cruel. I think it was the first trespass to not get blocked.
Between Starboy and Truth this game, there's a lot of positive intent being assumed. That's a lot to say. That they're now going to go
between
ahead
you and me, Tasty,
and work on capturing the Kraken. It is going to be Starboy just kiting the Kraken around as Truth waits for it to actually aggro onto him. Starboy finally breaks the aggro and just going to walk away now and leave Truth to his own devices on the Kraken. Okay, guys. And then they decide not to finish it.
I mean, they don't need the Kraken here. And they didn't need the Kraken, and I don't know what they were thinking. And so they're going to end the game right here, I think. Yeah, this could just likely to
Eventually.
keep the just to keep the Rona back, maybe. The minions are still a few minutes off, or a few seconds from coming on here. A recall from Lone Delphi. Might be a huge mistake here. Oh, Root lands, so it's not going to be a huge
Lance
mistake.
trespass onto the Lance. The Truth is going to go down extremely low here. It's not quite going to fall, though, as he does roll out to safety, and Starboy finds himself another kill. He's going to take out these minions, get these ace buff minions up underneath, or try to get them up underneath the turret, but there they go. They find the kill onto Rona now as well. Yeah, great job by Truth coming back into this fight after having been pushed out earlier. Now Starboy will start to work on this turret. Waits for Lone Delphian to get there. They take down the final turret. And they could go for the Vein Crystal, but instead they want another kill. They want to try and take down this Black Feather. But he's just going to be hanging out near his fountain and will be able to just constantly go back. But not if he gets stunned and rooted. And there's that kill. There's the ace they were looking for. And now Nova will finish the game mercifully at 22.5 minutes in.
Yeah, they had to get that ace before they closed out the game, and it does feel good, Tasty, to close it out like that. And congratulations to Nova. They are going to move on to the next round as they defeat Celsior Esports. Game 1 was a little close. This game was not as close, although they sure did their best to try to make it feel that way. And definitely a good showing for Nova overall. You know, some little bit of foolery, but they ultimately do again get the 2-0 win in games that I'd say were pretty clean. So with that, Tasty Bacon, we're going to be moving on to our next series here in just a few seconds. But we're going to be first taking a quick break. When we come back after this short break, we'll be getting into our next matchup. It's going to be Jimmy Fan Club versus Echo Fox. Although the name is new, Jimmy Fan Club is filled with all-star players that you guys will all recognize, I'm sure. So you're not going to want to miss that. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back after the break.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try...
Welcome back, everybody. After that slightly extended break, we are here live at the VIS desk, ready for our second series of the night. And it is going to be Jimmy Fan Club versus Echo Fox. And I'm pretty excited for this, Tasty, because these are actually two really good teams. A lot of star players, although I think Echo Fox might be playing with a bit of a skeleton crew. Slow Dead saying, no, I guess Slow Dead's not going to play. May have been trolling me earlier, but Jimmy Fan Club is that old Necrolite / old NRG roster. And
I was gonna say, like, this looks like the Echo Fox team that's in the lobby, so I wasn't really sure what you were saying.
Yeah, I might have just crossed wires there, but they are going up against the Jimmy Fan Club. They're seed 7, seed 10, not a big gap, but I gotta say, Lightning T, Standing Solo Grass, these guys have been putting on a show. These guys have been playing very well. And I've seen some clips of Grass recently. The guy's been playing some very good Vainglory. If you're Echo Fox, you're going to be a little worried coming into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we talked about the name may not be familiar for Jimmy Fan Club, but the players sure are. Grass, Lightning T, and Standing Solo, all three of them have been around for quite some time and have been able to make a name for themselves across various organizations. And of course, constantly in and out of the Vainglory 8, both of these teams have been. So they're both kind of on the verge of being one of the top teams in North America and really trying to make that push to break through and be a consistent mainstay in the top of Vainglory.
No, absolutely. As we start off the draft here, it comes down to synergy, and these are actually both teams, players who've been playing together for a long time. So synergy, it starts in the draft, but it's definitely very, very important.
We'll see where the draft is going to take us, as it has kicked off. And it's Echo Fox on the A side. And maybe not connected, as typically when a team uses this much bonus time on their first ban, it means that they aren't actually connected. But nope, they do make that ban onto Varia. And that's a little strange to see, the Varia A-side ban.
Yeah,
she's typically a B-sided ban.
So, this might be, if you're not sure who to ban, if you can't make up your mind about what you want to take away from Echo Fox, you could play it safe, right? You know the Varia is going to get banned, just take it off, allow Echo Fox to make the ban against your team, which it's going to be the Black Feather in this case. And I do like that ban, but this gives... Oh, they're going to go with the Churnwalker first, so Echo Fox could pick up the Ringo. And I really like, the fact that Echo Fox got to be able to ban the Black Feather here and now look at the Ringo. This is, unfortunately, probably a little risky by Jimmy Fan Club to ban that Vario first, like you said. But they get the Churnwalker, and maybe that was their game plan to get that first.
And they do get themselves that Churnwalker, like you said, a very strong pick. The Black Feather being taken off the board, that was another one of those picks that we've seen quite a bit thus far in VISPRO. But now there's still plenty of options available. You can go for something like, we've seen a lot of Ringo. We've seen a lot of the Rona, the Ardens, things of that nature could come through here. And there's plenty of options for this first pick. They do decide to go with that Captain and take the Arden for themselves.
Yeah, Arden has been kind of the secondary pick along Churnwalker. We did see some Grace and Lyra play yesterday, the day before, but, Arden's been in about every single series at least one time. That's still going to be the second ban here. As maybe Echo Fox was watching that Nova game. I don't know, but I would not want to have to go against the Crystal Kestrel.
And the Kestrel has definitely been one of these picks that can make a large impact on games, whether it's a crystal or a weapon build path. So they do just take that off the board. And Black Feather, Rona, and Kestrel all banned away. That's a lot of these power, and Varia as well. A lot of these power picks that we often see in the carry role taken off the board. So you're going to have to see both of these teams dig just a little bit deeper into those hero pools. Something like the Ringo could come out. Vox still available as well. Another one of the very common carries that you expect to see. But looks like the side of Jimmy Fan Club, they want to wait and take their carry as their lane carry as their last pick and look for that counter pick play.
Yeah, and we saw this once before where they take the jungler, but I feel like this shoehorns you a little bit because now you can't pick a jungler that counters the enemy team. And Ringo is in such a good spot right now, Tasty, that I feel like you're safe to pick Ringo on B side in almost any situation, especially if there's not a lot of good crowd control or if there's not a really strong super like assassin that can get on you. What we typically see that works well are those heroes that can, like a Black Feather or Taka, that can get on top of the Ringo, use the Atlas, slow them up, do some damage. But instead, you see Jimmy Fan Club, they're building somewhat of a poke comp with, I think might be either a weapon, it might be a weapon Grumpjaw. Interestingly enough.
And not exactly the most common of picks that we see on the fold, but definitely one that, can take off if it gets itself an early lead. The weapon Grumpjaw does have a lot of burst damage and can take players by surprise. We saw actually Grumpjaw come out at Worlds, and it was able to do some serious damage. And it's one of these picks that when you don't see a pick very frequently, you can make some mistakes when playing against it just because you're not used to playing against that hero. And he has one of those ultimates that's very difficult to reflex block, especially if you're not playing against it all the time. So it'll be interesting to see how the members of Jimmy Fan Club are able to do against it.
No, you're absolutely right. They're going to finish off with the Vox. No Ringo. This is the first game that we are not seeing a Ringo either picked or banned in all of this pro. So very surprising, Tasty, as for a bit there, I was gonna say this might be a week of 100% Ringo pick ban, but it's not going to be. Echo Fox does go with the Vox instead, and again, we did see the Vox go with that Spell Sword build as well. Maybe that's kind of what Echo Fox, they had to choose between the two, and they felt like they just mechanically were better with the Vox in this case.
We'll definitely have to see how it's going to pan out, because it's already going to be a very close game, a very hard-fought game, you'd have to figure, between these two teams. Like you mentioned, a Seed 7 and Seed 10. They're both teams that are consistently placing around the same level through Vainglory 8 and Challengers, so there's a lot of familiarity on this one, as these teams are going to have to... We're gonna be just getting things sorted out with the selections and get back on into this one as quickly as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Wait a minute, I do gotta check something really quick. Before we start. All right, we're good now. All right, sorry about that. There we go. All right. So had to sort something out here on our side on behind the scenes. We got that sorted out, so we'll be jumping into this in a quick second. All right, so before we get into this one, Tasty, though, any quick thoughts? Maybe any player that you feel like you want to keep our eye on for this matchup?
For me, I think it's really just, it's almost too difficult to pick just any one player to keep our eye on. I think the biggest thing for me is going to be keeping our eyes on the jungle and just seeing how the two junglers do going head to head with the Grumpjaw and the Batiste. It's going to be very interesting. Actually, are they even going to put the... I assume it's going to be the lane,
Well, let's
Samuel.
go find out. Yeah,
we'll have to find out as we get into game. It'll take a little while because they're both going to go down into the jungle to start things off and just work on clearing out those camps together, get that level 2 quickly, get a little bit extra gold onto both players. It's very standard. You see both teams doing it. And it's just going to be Grass and Slata duking it out a little here in the middle of the map for now.
Yeah, the supports duking it out is kind of, I guess, like the typical when you two-man rotate the backs. When your two carries, try to share that experience as your supports go to the center. But Grass making to maybe try to steal something away. He's not successful, but he does land a few chains. And could be seeing an early 3-man fight here in the jungle.
Yeah, it's going to be that level 2 being hit. He's trying to use that level 2 the power spike for the Samuel. They do get themselves the Treant. Now they're finding a lot of damage. The healing potions are going to get used pretty much across the board. I think only Brutal Turtle still has his left. No, Lightning T still has his as well. Now they're continuing to chase on through. Brutal Turtle's going to have to use his now. And so all 3 healing flasks used on the side of Echo Fox, and they still end up falling. It's going to be Brutal Turtle going down. That first blood going over to the side of Jimmy Fan Club. And Lightning T, he's not done yet. He's got some big damage onto Yazru. Can't quite connect with that last Malice and Virtus proc, and is going to be heading out. But this is I was gonna say, I'm kind of surprised that Lightning T's going for this recall here, because that's a large minion wave that he's going to be able to farm up. So he does stick around and decide to farm this. Wanted to wait and make sure that he saw Yazru go back before he committed to trying to take down this minion wave.
Yeah, and that was a huge minion candy. Lit up, basically put a minion candy on almost that double wave right there. So it would have absolutely pushed into his turret. And yeah, Lightning T not wanting to risk losing any of the CS here early. Smart call.
Down in the jungle, though. It's Stan Solo not going to be able to be in the same situation, as he's going to lose out quite a bit of his jungle here, thanks to the invade from Brutal Turtle and Slada. They get a bit of revenge. They answer that kill, steal away some of those camps, trying to put Stan Solo behind on this Grumpjaw.
Oh, that was a really nice push in. Because the minion candy was pushing the lane up, you know, Lightning T couldn't move down into the jungle to help back up his teammates, and so that allowed Slada and Brutal to move in. They got the kill, took away some of the farm, and they've essentially pulled back within reach after being down by a decent amount of gold here. After this rotation, they should just be down by a few hundred, which is exactly where, you know, you kind of want to be here. You don't want to go down early.
Yazru eating a lot of damage courtesy of this Samuel, and will actually go down. So Lightning T doing a great job coming right back into the lane, putting that pressure on. But now Grass, he's going to be in trouble. The Ordained will keep him in place, or they have to try and get out of here because of the damage from Samuel's healing Grass right back up with those chains. That's one of the strengths of this Churnwalker. Again, if you don't get that kill on him and you have to start running away at all, he's just going to be healing up through that chain perk. And now Lightning T, he's going to be in a bit of trouble here, as well as now the recall from Yazru is happening. But Yazru, he's going to be going down low. Those chains again doing work. So are these minions, and Yazru's going to be the one to fall. Dragonborn, what is going on in this lane?
Well, at 3 minutes, Lightning T, you know, is just absolutely doing insane amount of damage. He only has 2 tier 2 items, but that's just enough. And again, one of the things that's really, you know, you have to remember is that Samuel does a really surprising amount of regeneration of his health when he has that Drifting Darkness, when he's empowered. And, you know, you don't typically see him in the lane, but Lightning T's playing him in the lane, and it's really throwing off Echo Fox, right? They're trying to play him like he's a standard weapon laner, but he's not. He's going to heal right back up, so he's going to come down low, kind of baits Echo Fox into that aggression. You think you've got him on the ropes, and the next thing you know, he's healed right back up, and he's turned the fight completely around.
And how about the itemization as well? Lightning T going for the Dragon's Eye first item. Not something we see very frequently from anyone.
Tier 3 item as well.
Yeah, very early finishing it, but then again, just what the item is. Now he's going to be chasing down. The Drifting Dark does end, but you can see the damage is still there pretty heavily. It's going to be pulling Yazru back. Oh, doesn't quite hit the Malice and Verdict. He's going to chase under the turret. That's going to be sacrificing his life to try and get that kill.
Oh, Grass used the fountain.
Gets the fountain out too. Grass tried to keep him alive, but standing solo in the meantime in the enemy jungle trying to steal away some camps. He does get that back Treant. And that's a lot of gold to steal away from the opposing jungler during that play. So looks like members of Jimmy Fan Club able to find themselves a little bit of an advantage here in the first few minutes.
Absolutely. A kind of a messy tussle back and forth between these two teams. Yazru actually builds the Poison Shiv first to deal with that heal coming out of the Samuel in the lane. which is, again, we typically hadn't seen that poison shift first on the Vox in this update, at least with the couple of games we've seen, but clearly a necessity in this case, as you're already seeing again, Lightning T rotating up, and in no time at all uses that Drifting Darkness to try to take out, but Yasuo with that wait for it, Tasty, they might have turned this around. And
yes, they might have, but now they didn't get the kill, and here comes Standing Solo with that Tension Bow proc, doing what he can. He's going to eat up one member of Echo Fox, pull him back underneath the turret. Brutal Turtle, he's just going to be in a world of trouble as a result of that. So, again, if you don't get those kills, if you can't secure the kill right away, these long, sustained, drawn-out fights, they just really are going to be favoring Jimmy Fan Club.
Yeah, so far they definitely are. We did get to see a glimpse of Yasuo once he got to level 6 there, and that Poison Shiv, the kind of damage he's going to do, but also just, he can really sustain and actually stop that Lightning T from getting the heal that he was getting when he was empowered. So that's going to be something important to keep an eye out for. Minion candies continue to be used by Echo Fox. Again, they're trying to make sure they don't lose out on this lane pressure, and it did work with them early, but I think you've gotten to the point now where the damage coming out of Jimmy Fans Club is enough that they can deal with that wave pretty easily.
All right, so with the current state of the game, 5-2 on the scoreboard, about a 2K gold lead for the side of Jimmy Fan Club. And again, these rotations are what I really want to keep an eye on. You have all of Echo Fox rotating down to the shop, but they aren't actually finishing off tier 3s with this rotation. It just it ends up being almost an aimless rotation to just get a couple of extra tier 2s and come up for this fight, but they've already given up this turret as a result. So again, the decision making of when to go to the shop versus when to stick around in the lane, not really there for the side of Echo Fox right now, as they try and just do what they can to the retreating members of Jimmy Fan Club. They're going to find a lot of damage on to Standing Solo, but he gets a stuffed onto Brutal Turtle, once again put to sleep by the Oblivion, and that's a quick kill for Jimmy Fan Club. Yasuo is going to melt as well. Can they find the kill onto Slater? He is very healthy, and now the Crystal Sentry is getting involved, but with Turnwalker here, they've got that spread damage between the Sentry and Slater. I don't know if they have enough damage, though, as now, again, the Sentry back onto Standing Solo. It's just going to do so much work onto him. He has to use the reflex block to try and stay alive. Slater will find that kill. Sentry's actually going to be able to recall as well. So a little bit over aggression from the side of Jimmy Fan Club, but again, just really taking advantage of mistakes from Echo Fox, although Lightning T is caught out here. Yeah,
another mistake from Jimmy Fan Club in this case. Again, really messy fights back and forth between these two teams, Tasty. As, positioning's absolutely huge. Obviously, they did a good job getting the turret, pushing the minion wave up in the lane. But then, you have Standing Solo and Grass overstaying in the jungle. And, Baptiste, you're really not going to be able to out-trade him on a Grumpjaw. And all he has was that Tension Bow. So once the Tension Bow procs up, he's not doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely, like I said, mistakes on both sides. And, all right, that's the cold payout. Actually goes over to Echo Fox. Members of Jimmy Fan Club having to retreat here. Going to be a big fear onto the Turnwalker. Does get the fountain off just barely in time. And Brutal Turtle is going to find one kill. Can he find any more? Obviously, quite a bit of sustain on both of these heroes, but it is going to be Lightning T that finds the kill. He's going to find another one onto Slater pretty easily. Yasuo was able to get himself out to safety, but this is a very messy game coming out from both teams.
Well, Samuel is on 3 items, so, when he's in the fight, he is going to be able to do a lot of damage. What we've actually been seeing is in 2 or 3 times now, Standing Solo and Grass start engaging the fight when it's just the 2 of them, and they're usually doing it against either a full team from Echo Fox or against just Arden and Baptiste, but either way, it's a fight they're not winning right now, so they need to be careful. Yasuo gets the turret there, Tasty. So again, another misplay here because you have Lightning T forced down in the jungle. Echo Fox, they're taking advantage of the mistakes from Jimmy Fans Club one by one.
Yeah, I mean, both of the teams are, it's very strange because both teams are, they'll make a mistake, their opponents will capitalize on it, but then immediately make another mistake to kind of negate the amount of pressure they could have gained. off of that advantage that they just earned. And it's been back and forth, both teams doing this. It's not like one side has just been able to do it consistently or anything like that. It's just been a very back and forth game as a result. And you can see, even though it is a 3,000 gold lead for the side of Jimmy Fan Club, like, it's one that could be so much more. The fact that they've made these mistakes has kind of left them vulnerable and has prevented them from being able to really run away with this.
Absolutely. We're going to see kind of a bit of a cool happening here, cool down with the engagements. It's been pretty exciting, the back and forth fights, but these teams need to regroup. They need to kind of maybe calm down a little bit and focus on fighting as a unit. Getting caught out, and that's really been the advantage that Echo Fox has had, is catching out either Lightning T or standing solo. Trespass to get the stun, though. And another fight breaking out, Tasty.
Another fight breaking out and going to be started off with a nice gauntlet, but it does get blocked. That's going to be a ton of damage going on to Yazru. He's just getting targeted by this Samuel. While standing solo forces Brutal Turtle long way around, and he's able to rejoin the fight much quicker than the Batiste. Now Batiste in the wrong spot is going to be targeted and taken out. Slada will be able to recall back to base, but Jimmy Fan Club finding another advantage here, able to push up underneath this second turret.
Oh, playing as a unit is exactly what we were talking about. It was the mistake that they were kind of making, Jimmy Fan Club not sticking together, and this time they did in the team fight. They engaged quickly when they did see a kind of a separation between Echo Fox and their players. They really weren't together as a unit, and they were able to get the kill. And another nice engagement coming out of here, out of Jimmy Fan Club.
And as they continue to push on through with this damage, they're already diving underneath the tier 3 turret. They're going to be able to take that turret down. As a result, they're running for the hills. The standing solo got very low, but he's actually going to go back in. And again, Brutal Turtle not able to reflex block the stuff. And he's going to be going down. It's been a common theme this game of Brutal Turtle just being targeted by this Grumpjaw. They find another kill. They did take down Standing Solo, but he started this fight at a sliver of health, so it would have been concerning if they didn't get the kill on him, but it is still an ace for Jimmy Fan Club.
This is a huge ace because it's right in front of the two turrets, and so they're going to try to split him up here, maybe even end the game. I don't think they've got enough time because here comes Brutal Turtle, but they're going to look to get one of these crystal turrets. Oh, they're going to get two.
Yeah, really great job of staggering the turret damage so that they don't get the respawn cooldowns coming through. But now they're going to be in trouble. The flying elbow from the Arden will land the gauntlet, and Grass going to be heading for the hills. Lightning T is running as well, but lots of damage being output on the way. This is one of the strengths of a Samuel. You try and chase him down, he's going to be just constantly throwing out damage. They find a kill in the process.
Lightning T.
Jimmy Fan Club just on fire. And now here comes Standing Solo, rejoining the fray after respawning himself. He's going to be finding the kill on the Slada, but in the meantime, Lightning T, he's just in the base. He's ending the game. And Jimmy Fan Club, a very shaky start, and I want to say middle of this game, but we're still in the mid game. It's only 14 minutes in. This is still technically the mid game, but they faltered so much early on, but really just brought the pressure here towards these last few minutes.
Yeah, you know, they just stuck together. I mean, once they did that, the Samuel was always doing a lot of damage from the first few minutes of the game. But, you know, if they're separated, they're not able to play cohesively, you know, you're going to get one of the members down. So then now the Samuel is forced to fight and do, you know, way more damage and carry way harder than he really should. Honestly, Echo Fox had some really incredible plays in this game and could have turned it around. But once we started to get to that mid game, we started to see them not play as cohesively. They were rotating together as 3-man, or they were catching out Standing Solo, but, you know, with Standing Solo only had a tension bow and it was working then. But then once Standing Solo started to get built on that Grumpjaw, he was not as easy to take down, and he was also doing a lot more damage than he was in that early game. And maybe that's where Echo Fox started to misguide or misestimate their ability to go head on into that composition. But great job by Jimmy Fan Club. They do take game number 1 in this best of 3.
And the other thing I want to go back to as well is the fact that, again, if you don't play against a certain hero all the time, you can almost get rusty about and playing against it. And how many times did we see the Stand and Solo just charge in with that stuff and be able to eat Brutal Turtle? And he targeted him almost every single time,
Right.
and I don't think it got blocked once the entire game. So it's a very difficult ability to block in the first place, and if you haven't been playing against it, you're not going to be able to block it consistently. That's exactly what we saw.
It was a problem, and with Grubjaw like being out of the meta in a carry capacity and really even in a support capacity for the last several updates, you're right. You maybe start to lose that edge you had on blocking that stuff consistently. I did see a tweet from Brutal Turtle about just playing with some shaky internet tonight and being a little bit humble and asking for some sympathy or at least some empathy as far as his matchup against Lightning T tonight. But no doubt about it, there's definitely some challenge and rust that comes to playing against a hero that maybe you haven't played against in quite some time. So, we're going to get ready for draft of game number 2 after we get the thumbs up from all of the players on both teams. I'm not going to rush it. And this could be our last game of the night. We'll see if Echo Fox has anything to say about this, Tasty. As we've had only one Game 3 so far in the round of 16. Can you believe that? Only one Game 3, and it was actually Tribe, our number 1 seeded team, the world champions, in fact, giving up a team to their opponent. Just one game.
They're not playing on a live stage, so it makes sense.
Well, this is true.
But yeah, no, it's you kind of expect the round of 16 to have a couple of one-sided games, 'cause even though the level of competition in Vainglory has risen dramatically over the past year, the difference between a top 5 team and a top 16 team is still very noticeable. And so we'll have to wait and see what this series is going to hold. And then, of course, tomorrow as well, we will be continuing with the round of 16 action and getting our field dwindled down to just 8 teams remaining. But as you mentioned, Dragonborn, we are waiting for the players to give us the go-ahead to start up our draft for game number 2.
And they just did.
The
So
draft
we're going to
begins.
jump into game number 2 right now, with Echo Fox moving over to a side. And we talked about the draft being a little interesting with the Varia ban first. And again, they used up a lot of their bonus time, so maybe that was a little bit of a I don't know, a reaction ban just to the fact that they were running out of time. I don't expect Varia to be banned the A side, but I could be wrong here. That Vox play was actually pretty surprising. We haven't seen, again, a lot of Vox. So I don't think it was good enough to warrant maybe a ban in this case, but Jimmy Fangum are going to ban that Churnwalker.
By banning the Churnwalker, it leaves the Varia open. And so right away, members of Echo Fox going to lock in that Varia, the first Varia that we're going to see tonight. We'll see if it is able to have as much success as it see if it warrants the fear that everyone has been giving it in ranked queues, where it's pretty much always first picked or banned in just about every solo queue game across the board. And Lyra is actually going to be the answer. This is also the first Lyra that we're going to get tonight as well. So both of these teams going to be, I was going to say, reaching a little bit deeper into these hero pools, but these are very common picks at the moment. These are picks that everyone should be, knowing and playing in the competitive scene.
Yeah, and I would actually say Varia and Lyra were probably the more expected picks. If they weren't for the fact that they were banned and we saw a little bit of a change. The Lyra makes a lot of sense here, Tasty, because the Lyra's bulwark, it does a great job at stopping mobile heroes from that extra mobility they get from some of their abilities. Varia has the ability to be extremely mobile while dealing a lot of damage in return. So Lyra, again, a great way to try to counter that. Gives yourself a little bit of speed. And wow. Haven't seen a competitive Gwen, though, in some time. But I kind of like this because, again, you're talking about mobility of the Varia. You really want to counter that. You want to be kind of, you want to give yourself as much mobility as well. And Gwen with that Lyra is one of those compositions that's, again, very mobile and still also does a lot of damage.
And Alpha gonna come through for the side of Echo Fox. Definitely shaking things up a little bit. Again, even though the Varia is kind of an expected pick, it is still a bit of a shakeup just because we don't get to see it that frequently because it is typically banned away. So the Alpha coming through as well, going to be trying to say, you know what, you're going to want to have a highly mobile team with the Lyra and the Gwen. Alpha is really great at sticking onto a target, and the Finn for the final pick. Finn is one of these heroes that is, it's always very interesting. There's a lot of different mentalities, a lot of different mindsets on, is it a strong pick? Is it one that should be coming out in competitive or not? With an Alpha, it can actually work really well because you can give that fortified health when Alpha does go down into that reboot and be able to keep her alive just that little bit longer that she might need.
Yeah, this is an interesting ban coming out of our draft overall by Echo Fox. The Alpha and the Varia are actually kind of flexed. We saw the only Varia that got played go weapon. And because of that, now, that opens up the doors to this being a weapon, Crystal Alpha, or a weapon Alpha and a Crystal Varia. A combination of the two, which I think is a great position if you're Echo Fox. You want to have that mystery. Jimmy Fan Club, they instead have to go with something a little bit more predictable here. This is a very mobile, burst-heavy, aggressive comp, but one that I think could really fall to an Alpha Varia late game. I mean, that's really the risk of that composition.
Yeah, it definitely is a composition that, can run into some issues, but it's also very strong looking at it up front. Both of these teams, like you said, it's an interesting draft, but there are clear strengths to each draft, and there are clear win conditions that both teams are going to be striving for as we get underway in this game. And as soon as one of the players returns and gets himself ready, we will be able to get ourselves underway for game number 2 between Echo Fox and Jimmy Fan Club.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually exciting to see these heroes that aren't played in meta as regularly, and to be able to see them come in play. And granted, when you're ranking in the solo queues or the team queues, you only have single bans, so some of these deeper picks aren't going to show up. But in this tournament with the double ban, you get the luxury of being able to reach a little deeper, try out some compositions that you may never have even considered in normal play. Maybe in scrim. So I'm excited to see this. I haven't seen a Finn competitively here in just North America games in quite some time, and then to see Gwen make a comeback here is really exciting as well.
And definitely something I'm looking forward to seeing as well on the fold. There is going to be on to the fold we go now, though, Dragonborn, as we are underway. Game number 2. This is where members of Echo Fox need to step up. They need to find a victory here, or they will be eliminated. Meanwhile, the side of Jimmy Fan Club going to be looking to move on to the next round here in VISPRO.
Absolutely. No big surprise as we start off this game, as it's been almost 100% a guarantee that these teams will start with the carries in the back. But standing solo, a very, very risky decision to try to actually take the Lyra all the way over the top into the enemy jungle.
Yeah, trying to go very deep, but at the moment, it's one of these plays that is going to end up causing a skirmish here in the middle of the map. We'll see who decides to really commit to this Treant. If they decide to go for this fight, that's going to be Lightning T jumping in, getting a lot of damage down. There's that fortified health we were talking about. Can Yasru get out of here? He's going to have to use his healing flask. That's going to be now Brutal Turtle going in deep. But again, he has that reboot. Doesn't even have to use it yet as they find the first blood. Standing solo, he's in trouble as well. And he will go down. 2 quick kills for the side of Echo Fox. A much better start to game number 2 for them.
Yeah, even though they got the Elder Treant, they just absolutely didn't position correctly. They allowed Alpha's Prime Directive to get on and deal damage to both Kashka and Grass on the Gwen, and that was a huge mistake. That absolutely, you know, when you're dealing in the early game, Alpha is a really strong hero if he can land his prime directive damage and kind of get on top of you consistently. And normally you can dodge out some of that, but in this case he was able to land it. And then thanks to another minion candy, they've got this lane pushed up right up to the turret of Jimmy Fan Club.
Yeah, and able to get a lot of pressure down early is a key to success for a lot of compositions. And if you can put pressure onto a Koshka or Gwen early on, you can really find yourself with a strong advantage, because, you know, especially the Koshka relies on getting an early lead in the jungle. And if you can shut down Lightning T with this pick, that's going to go a long way towards trying to get you this victory.
Absolutely. It looks like, though, Jimmy Fan Club, they don't want to let up Tasty as they look for another gauge, and they finally get that revenge kill.
And they do get themselves another kill on the board. Yazuru going to go down very low. They're not going to be able to finish that one off, but they will be able to take down Slada eventually. Lightning T actually almost dropping in the process. Yazuru thought about maybe trying to get a cheeky little snipe in there, but isn't going to be able to. And so, just like that, all of a sudden, Jimmy Fan Club turns this right back around in their favor.
Yeah, and so 2 kills going over and getting actually that third kill is a pretty big deal here, Tasty, because now they've taken that gold lead, and that's really kind of all that matters, right? In the early game, you're not really so worried about kills. If you could get that gold lead, you'll take the kill lead as well if you can. Lightning T finding Brutal Turtle out here in his enemy's jungle, but he's just going to be able to come down and take another Elder Treant, and this will be, I think, 2 Elder Treants over the Jimmy Fan Club, Tasty. As, yeah, that early disaster of a start, it looks like it's gotten cleaned right up.
Yeah, it has pretty much been completely negated at this point by the members of Jimmy Fan Club, as they're able to find themselves kills across the board. Obviously, you still need to be careful because Yazuru can get rolling on this Varya very easily, but look at the damage that Grass is able to output with this Gwen already. Yazuru just heals himself on up, though, dashes in, and that's what I was talking about. In the blink of an eye, Yazuru turns that right back around and finds a kill.
This is the mobility and the kind of the scary danger that you have to contend with when you're going up against a Varya. And there was no Lyra there to protect. I mean, a bulwark positioned correctly would have done a great job at kind of keeping that Gwen safe. But unfortunately, Lyra was down in the jungle, so Grass fully exposed. Got the full wrath of Yazuru's Varya. Grass looking to go in.
Looking to find a lot of damage here, but that's going to be Yazuru does go down. Now Grass still going to be pretty low, but has plenty of damage. And Slada is not going to be able to return things, but here comes Brutal Turtle, and Grass knew that Brutal Turtle was going to be coming up and was able to back out in time to prevent himself from getting caught out. But now with Lightning T rotating up, they might try and commit to this under the turret. Nope. Just going to get them down to half health. Maybe look for an opportunity to push in the jungle a little, but there's nothing there for them to take, so it will just be a recall.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It would have been very risky to stick around that turret with Varya coming right back up into the lane. But you could see the difference that Varya makes when there's a bulwark right on top of her. Lyra did a great job. Standing Soul should get some props there. But keeping the mobility of Varya in check, she can't move around. She can't get on top of Grass as easily when Lyra's in the lane. So something Standing Solo has to keep in mind is if he's going to rotate down into the jungle and leave Grass alone, Grass is going to have to be either taking a back foot in the lane, stay kind of behind his minions, maybe a few steps further back than normal, or Standing Solo just simply can't rotate down and leave Grass by himself.
Yeah, one of the two. But for now, Lightning T and Brutal Turtle getting into it a little bit, but with the rotations from the captains coming down, looks like Lightning T wants to try and continue this. Brutal Turtle has pretty much fully backed away from this and it's just kind of left Slada on his own. Now the rest of Jimmy Fan Club has rotated down, but here's the ultimate from Varya. Fountain comes out, and now they may look to turn this one. Brutal Turtle jumps on in with that prime directive. They're able to get on deep, but Lightning T trying to get onto Yazuru, trying to take down the Varya. It's a lot of split focus, but no one has fallen just yet. Lightning T, you know he wants to try and jump back in on this. He's going to get the movement speed from Lyra, but instead of going into the fight, looks to just steal away some
finds
camps
grass
in the back.
Ooh, that was a nice prime directive. He was going for the Lyra there, Tasty, but instead finds the Gwen all the way down on the bottom side of the tri-bush. That was actually a better target than he could have hoped for here. So Grass does survive, is going to be able to push the lane up, but they do get that one kill. Typically, these long fights favor the composition with Lyra. You don't have a strong heal on the side of Echo Fox, but Echo Fox is just finding ways to get the damage or finding ways to turn it around. And a lot of this is going to be on the back of that Varia. The Varia just has to do a lot of damage. They are going to find Grass here, Tasty, but it looks like Johnny Fan Club or Jimmy Fan Club, they do get the turret.
They get the turret. That's going to be a little bit of extra gold in their pockets. Now Lightning T, he's going to jump on up. He sees Yazuru is low on energy. He's going to use that Yummy Catnip Frenzy to get the stun. Lots of damage, but a big Force to Cord will keep him off target for now, but it's not going to be long enough as Koshka is able to dive on deep. Lightning T finds that kill. Little Turtle is here to try and stop Lightning T from going on to Slada, and they will be successful for now, but Lightning T able to find himself opportunities here and there. Obviously, is going to want to do a little bit more work than as the game goes on, but for now, if he can just find a Yazuru and assassinate the Varia just like he did there, he's going to find himself with a lot of success.
He's definitely going to try. As Echo Fox now playing behind a down turret, so they're down in objectives just a little bit. The Koshka, this composition with the Koshka needs to win the early game, so it's not really that surprising, Tasty, that we are seeing Jimmy Fan Club win this early on, at least in kills and gold. But the Alpha and the Varia, that's a composition late that's going to be doing a lot of damage. And speaking of damage, we have fight breaking out here in the tri-bush.
Yeah, fight breaking out and going very heavily in the favor of Jimmy Fan Club for now, but are they going to get turned? No, Varia goes down, and that is pretty much a death sentence. There's going to be the termination protocol from Brutal Turtle. He is going to be able to get back up as Lightning T just had wanted no part of staying around in that fight. They didn't need him to secure that kill either. And it ends up being a 2-for-0 in favor of Jimmy Fan Club.
Yeah, Jimmy Fan Club's going to get those kills. Going to be able to push up the lane, but it doesn't look like they're going to get any objectives for this. Standing solo rotating down. I don't think they're going to have time to start up the gold mine. And the lane was too far pushed over in front of their turret to push it far enough to get another turret away from Echo Fox. So not really a huge loss for Echo Fox there. They lose the 2 kills, but they don't really give up that much more. You see Standing Solo, he's trying to get a little bit of counter jungling here. He does get it too, Tasty, but again, trying to find something to justify that team fight because, again, right now, they're winning some of these team fights, but they need to do so much more. The Varia late game is going to become a force to reckon with.
And obviously, that's what is always so feared about the Varia, is this late game power that she gets. But there's going to be Yummy Catnip Frenzy going in. Does get blocked, but Yazuru is so low. He does end up falling, and they get the kill onto the Alpha as well. Now they just have to chase down Slada. That will be an ace. And Jimmy Fan Club starting to really find that momentum that they were able to pick up in game number 1 as well.
Oh, and they needed that. This is a huge fight. We're at 10 minutes. We're approaching that 15-minute mark in just a few more minutes. And you only had 1 turret down. This composition wants to be mobile and aggressive early, right out the gate. And you really want to keep that Varia back. You don't want to be doing, oh no, Yazuru got caught out.
Yazuru got very much caught out. Grass is going to be able to find that kill. He does trade himself for it, but they've gained so much off this already. Now Lightning T, he's going to grab that tree and then join the fray here. Get it right onto Brutal Turtle. Trying to find this kill. Brutal Turtle does have the reboot available, as well as the termination protocol. He gets the fortified health, trying to just turn this around, trying to help his team get some kills. There's going to be some healing going through. He's able to continue diving onto Standing Solo. Standing Solo doesn't have much left. Throws down another Sigil, and Lightning T grabs himself another Treant for that energy regen. Gets right back on into Brutal Turtle, but Brutal Turtle is just so durable with the help of this Finn. They do knock him down. He doesn't get the ultimate off, and this
mistake.
Is going to be trouble now as Grass comes in, lands the stun as well. And this is going to be Brutal Turtle falling here. Meanwhile, Slada is the next target. He's going to fall here as well. Now Varia has rejoined, but has just rejoined in time to watch his teammates fall. And this will be an ace for the members of Jimmy Fan Club. They take down the Sentry, and they are now rolling.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to get this final turret here. It's so low that you're going to see Grass, Lightning T. They don't even need to wait for the minion wave push up. The barrier's not strong enough to hold them back. And at 12 minutes, they've got a very commanding lead here, Tasty. But they almost have to have this lead. This is a game that Echo Fox can come back in. They got to play a little bit more cautiously there. Brutal Turtle, you know, he knew he had the sustain for that fight, but then not to get the the termination protocol, to not activate that in time was a big loss. Without that, there was actually so much more sustain that you have when you're able to activate the termination protocol in the fight. Plus, you get the benefit of just pushing the team back a little bit. They don't want to get caught up in that damage, even though it's probably not a huge amount of damage on a weapon alpha.
The base damage is still pretty high. It's not as massive as a Crystal Alpha, but one, the base damage is still pretty high, but also it's just more time that you're able to stay alive dishing out damage as a weapon alpha. So you always want to get that ultimate off regardless of the situation in a fight like that.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And well, that's going to be, speaking of fights, that's going to be the portal in. No bulwark to go down onto the Varia, so she is going to be able to escape for now, but they've already found the kill regardless. Brutal Turtle again gets dropped without the ultimate, and he's going to go down himself. Now Slada, last member standing. Lightning T's doing what he can. I don't think he's going to have enough damage to get the kill before he gets onto the fountain, or will he? No, doesn't quite get it, but the turret has fallen, and that was the goal for Jimmy Fan Club there in the first place. Just get that turret down. Now Grass is going to throw a little bit of damage onto the first turret, first crystal turret. Now has to run as Varia has respawned.
Yeah, I mean, it really good thing Echo Fox didn't lose Slada in the process there, because they might have been able to push all the way through and take another crystal turret, in fact. But, you know, they get that save there. Nice stun, actually, using the Quibble to keep Standing Solo back. I'm sorry, to keep Lightning T back in that fight. And keep their hopes just open for a little bit longer. But at this point, this is a huge lead coming out of Jimmy Fan Club, and one that Echo Fox, they need to stop the bleeding right now.
Things are starting to look pretty dire for them at this point in the game. You see members of Jimmy Fan Club, they're just pushing right down the lane. And that's only two of them. They don't even have Lightning T anywhere close to being with them.
Well, that could
they're
be a
still
mistake,
feeling
though.
confident enough. It could be something that backfires if they get caught out. But now Lightning T, he's going to have to make his way over to try and join them sooner rather than later, or they're going to have to back off. But again, this is the confidence that this team has with the lead that they've been able to grow. That 2v3, they just push on up and are still continuing to apply pressure.
Yeah, Lightning T doesn't even bother come. Tries to actually solo the gold miner.
He was trying to take the gold miner, but didn't get it down in time. Kraken spawning, and Lightning T just immediately starting that on up.
Yeah, but he might have been sniffed out by Echo Fox. They know they haven't seen Lightning T in a while, so they might just try to push in and stop it. They might have caught. Oh, they did. Tasty. Huge mistake out of Jimmy Fan Club.
Yeah, the members of Echo Fox were able to. I mean, when one member isn't visible for that long, it kind of assume, like, the jungle's cleared out at that point. The only other option is either he's AFK or is working on Kraken solo. And either way, either of those two situations, you go in and take that 3v2. That's exactly what they did, and they made Jimmy Fan Club pay for this confidence. Now they're going to be able to take this Kraken, although Lightning T, is he going to try and make this steal? Standing Solo is still in the area. Lightning T jumps on in, and he doesn't get the steal. The Kraken does go over, but now Grass has respawned and is coming in. They get the kill onto Lightning T, but Grass very nearly takes down Varia, but doesn't get the kill. And now Standing Solo is going to be falling here. There's nowhere for him to go except through the portal, and they can continue to chase him down. That is an ace for Echo Fox with the Kraken unleashed. And again, that overconfidence completely turning this game on its head.
Yeah, and with a composition that you really want to end early, but you don't want to give over any gold or any ounce of confidence back to the enemy team. Koshka's not going to be as effective as we get later into the game, so this is super risky. Echo Fox are going to turn this game completely around now. Like, they're going to even up the objectives here. They might even be able to continue pushing here. You can see, Lightning T almost...
Lightning T taking so much damage in the thick of things, but now the rest of the team is here. He gets himself healed up a bit. Can they find a kill? If they can just find a team fight here, they can still maybe try and end this game. But Varia is just doing so much damage at this stage. Kraken is onto these turrets as well. They force Brutal Turtle out, and it will be Echo Fox backing off. But they just took 4 turrets with this Kraken push and have been able to completely turn this game back on its head. It's still a 5K gold lead for the side of Jimmy Fan Club, but it is not going to feel that way.
It's really not. I mean, the gold lead now is going to become less of a factor, and against the late game composition that Finn Alpha and Varia can bring, this is disastrous for Jimmy Fan Club. They could still win this game, but now they've given Echo Fox the wiggle room they needed. They've given them the breathing room to start, feeling like, okay, we can get back into this game. I mean, that was a huge push. And, you're behind a little bit in some areas, but not enough to be worried whatsoever. And it's actually starting to look like Echo Fox's game to lose at this point.
That Varia ult being used there could actually be big. That's a huge ultimate. A lot of team fight damage that is not going to be available for a long time. Yazru hasn't really been focusing on the ultimate damage, though. You can see he only put 2 points in it. And so he's not really going to be too concerned about it. He's mostly just using it as a scouting, but here we go. Grass going to take the portals onto the backside, but they're not getting onto Yazru. Yazru's getting a lot of damage down. The Force to Core does get blocked. They jump right back in. Now they can get onto Yazru. He's taking a lot of damage, and he's going to be falling. It's a 1-for-1 right now, though. Lightning T has to get out of here. You can see Brutal Turtle still very, very healthy, and we saw this 2-on-2 last forever last time. And it's actually Lightning T thinks about just trying to jump onto Slada and get as much distance between himself and Brutal Turtle as possible. Standing solo, I think he's going to be a sacrificial lamb if he doesn't get out of here.
Yeah, Prime
he's going to try and get away, but if they were going to lose someone, it was going to be standing solo. And it is going to be things kind of being just an even 1-for-1 when all is said and done. But again, looking much better for Echo Fox now than it did even just 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, we're talking about team fights going in favor of Jimmy Fan Club every time, and to now being fairly even in the amount of damage they can output. And, there was a missed block on the early quibble in that fight. Might have made a huge difference early on. And then, of course, with Brutal Turtle being able to land some of those prime directives to keep, honestly, the huge difference maker at this point. He doesn't have the most kills, but he's been able to dish out a lot of this late game damage. Another ult coming out of Varia, clearly just to get an idea of vision.
It's being used for scouting. He's using it for scouting at this point now that it is this late in the game. And because he's not really been prioritizing, he doesn't want to have to stand still for that long in a fight to channel it seems like. So it's just really being used to scout out opponents because they really can't afford to be investing so much in division. They're going into spots where they don't have vision. It's going to be a portal coming through. That's going to cause some disruption in this fight, but will they be able to get onto Yazru? That's the question. He dashes in and out. It's a huge barrier, and they find the kill onto Lightning T, and just like that, Jimmy Fan Club are on the run.
Oh my goodness. Getting both your carries stunned up right there in that choke point by the quibble, that's just not what you want to plan for. You really need to make sure you've got reflex blocks to deal with it. They've got crucibles. Both carries have a reflex block. It's really not an excusable mistake. You need to be ready for that. Again, another stun comes out here. Obviously, the reflex block on cooldown for Grass, but he's going to get caught out here again. And he might go down.
Yeah, Grass in a lot of trouble. He tries to just get the kill on Varia, but he just doesn't have the damage to do so. The barrier from the Varia when she uses her dash is massive. If she gets the double dash off, it gives her such a huge barrier, and it's combined with the fortified health of Slada. It's just doing so much work at this stage of the game. That's going to be another dash through, and that's going to be a blocked ultimate. Yummy Cat and Frenzy not going to connect. They do get the kill on Varia, but you still see how low Stand and Solo is getting thanks to Brutal Turtle and Slada. Light T does what he can, but there's still a Kraken bearing down onto their turrets, and they will not have the damage to stop this one, I don't think, at this stage of the game. This should be the game going over to Echo Fox, as that turret does get destroyed. Kraken now making her way onto the Vein Crystal. Brutal Turtle is going to melt here, but I just don't know if they have enough damage to stop this. Need to get in there, do damage to the Vein Crystal Slater just to make sure, but the Kraken is doing some
nice
serious
sigil.
work now.
Nice sigil to kind of, well, not sigil, I mean the passageway to blow it. Yeah, Slater got in there, got it. So they are going to get a win, and Echo Fox pushing us to a third game, our second third game series of the tournament thus far.
And a great comeback from the side of Echo Fox, but at the same time, the overconfidence from the members of Jimmy Fan Club. I mean, to sit there and push with the 2v3, it's one thing to make that initial push when you know you have that advantage, but to continuously stay with just two members like that for such a long time just ultimately ended up costing them really the game. It gave them momentum and the gold that Echo Fox needed to get back in this game.
No, it absolutely did. We talked about it. The early game was Jimmy Fan Club's game to win. They won it. They need to maintain it. They can't just give it over and put it on a silver plate back for Echo Fox. They did just that. Giving that throw was absolutely enormous, plus the Kraken push. The two Krakens in Echo Fox's bank were able to push them and get the win. Just you hate to see throws like that, Tasty. You really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's mistakes, simple mistakes. And sometimes it only takes one to turn a game on its head. And obviously, it's something that these players should know. And if they didn't before, they certainly will now after that one.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get ready for game number 3, everybody, in just a quick second, but we're going to take a really short break. And when we come back, game number 3 of this best of 3 series will conclude. And we will know who our next team to be qualified for the quarterfinals will be in just a bit.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here live at the VIS desk, ready to get into our third game of this series. You guys are watching Jimmy Fan Club facing off against Echo Fox here in the VIS Pro 3v3 Winter Championship. And we have been pushed to 3 games, Tasty Bacon. It's our third game here of the entire tournament. As we've had a lot of 2 and outs, and honestly, really thought this was going to be another one of those until we saw Echo Fox make a very impressive comeback, taking that away from that almost near victory that Jimmy Fan Club had, and now maybe pushing this to a victory where they will be going to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. Obviously, members of Jimmy Fan Club had a pretty heavy advantage in games 1 and 2, but just weren't quite able to close out game number 2. Echo Fox taking advantage of some mistakes and clawing their way back into the game. So, on paper, I would expect Jimmy Fan Club to be able to close out this series and take the 2-1. But again, there is always that possibility that they make those mistakes that Echo Fox are able to capitalize on.
Well, absolutely. Aria banned on B side, to be expected. The Churnwalker banned on A side. I mean, we've seen the Churnwalker banned several times throughout the tournament thus far. I mean, it is I would say a pretty smart ban. Churnwalker has been kind of one of those big playmaking supports thus far. But Fortress and Adagio, like another set of heroes that we just don't see played as much, making a surprising showing here in VISPRO.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see either of these heroes played super frequently, and to have both of them first picked, it's leaving a lot up in the air for these teams as to where they're going to try and go with these compositions. A lot of flexibility in these picks. Both of them can be played as either for Adagio, it's either in the lane or as a captain. And for Fortress, we've seen plenty of jungle Fortress or as a captain himself. So both of them keeping a bit of flexibility and a bit of unknown as to what they're planning with their first picks. Ooh,
Grace was that was a surprising ban.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just taking the healers with Lyra banned, wanted to take the other healer off the board. Obviously, Arden is still available, and if Arden does come out here for the side of Echo Fox, it does mean that will be the Crystal Fortress. And it's you gotta wonder, are they willing to show their hand? They are not. They're going to take the Sky instead. We saw a few Sky bans earlier today, but this also, again, it keeps that sort of unknown of where is the Fortress going to go. I would expect to see this be a weapon Sky, but you will again have that flexibility of doing either the weapon or the Crystal Sky based on what your opponents end up choosing to pick. And right now, the side of Jimmy Fan Club, with the Adagio and the Batiste, there's a lot of sustain on their side of the fold right now.
We haven't seen an Adagio, well, since Worlds, but, in 2.11, this will be our first one on this tournament. I do like the sustain comp that you see here, but the dive potential coming out of Echo Fox is nice. I love mobility, and I love to see when you have someone like a Sky to just pair that up with more mobility. Now, at this point, I really think Jimmy Fan Club, if they're not going to play a carry Adagio, they should pick the Ringo here. We're already talking about how Ringo is just doing so much damage. Well, they go with the Black Feather. I still a very good pick, by the way. But, either way, you're putting the carry in a position where the buff from Adagio, they can actually execute on it, right? You can get that attack buff, and then you can deal that increased damage very quickly because both the Ringo and the Black Feather are pretty quick to get on their targets.
Yeah, now my question is just going to be, who's going to be the captain on that side? Are they going to run it with the Captain Adagio with a weapon Black Feather in the lane and a Crystal Batiste, or do they run the Captain Batiste with the very likely ends up being a Crystal Black Feather with a weapon Adagio? There are still options for them available. They could try and change that up based on what they see as the final pick for the side of Echo Fox. And Echo Fox, their composition has to be rounded out as well here. Is it going to be the Captain Fortress, or are they going to pick up something like the Ardent to pair with this and really emphasize that movement speed advantage?
We'll have to see. I'd love to see I think their intent with the Fortress was to go Captain. So, if they do go Crystal Fortress here, you'd pair it up with the Ardent. It's really been Tasty's Crystal Sky that we've seen prioritized way more. At least so far, we saw Sky twice in the last 2 days previously, and but with that Fid pick, you're almost sure that it's going to be a carry Fortress.
I'm really iffy on the Finn pick here, just because there's so much mobility and dive with the Fortress and the Sky. Finn's not going to be able to keep up with that, so they really need to play this extremely well on the side of Echo Fox to have much effect from this Finn. Otherwise, the two carries are going to go deep onto the back lines, and Finn isn't going to be there to protect them.
No, I agree with you, Tasty. That was the exact opposite of what I was thinking they'd go with. When you think of supports that were remaining, granted, Arden comes to mind. And so if you're going to go with the Fortress CP, I don't see why you just don't take the Arden in this case. It is a little bit baffling, but even a Lance with the dive potential would have been very effective, right? Get the Impale and follow that up with a bunch of dive. The Sky going in, Suri striking around that target with the Impale, rooting the enemy. There's so many possibilities of what they could have done. I think their strategy that Echo Fox is playing here clearly has to be around the fact that they really like the barrier that they get, that fortified health from Finn's play company. And if you watched last game, those quibbles were just devastating to Jimmy Fan Club. They really struggled when they got into those tight fights.
And so, the Finn, again, it can work in the right situations. It's just, this is one of those situations where a lot of effort and a lot of work needs to go in to make it be effective. And it's one of those times where, the draft doesn't necessarily determine the game, but you want to give yourself as many advantages in the draft as you can. You want to make the game as easy for yourself as possible. And to me, the Finn in this composition makes the game just a little bit harder.
It does. Well, we're jumping into the full Tasty Bacon to get into the action and our last game of the night, as we'll see who will be making it on to the quarterfinals. Jimmy Fan Club, Seed 7. Again, impressive start. I'd say the first, 1.5 games were very impressive, but again, dropping game 2 really allowed basically Echo Fox to come in here. But from looking at the draft, I'd want to give it over to Jimmy Fan Club, but I'm a little bit skeptical on how the Adagio is going to play here effectively. It's you're kind of forced to maybe stay on the back line, give the Black Feather as much of the buff as you can, but Black Feather is a little bit squishy. So you really have no front line, and Adagio's never been really known for a heavy front line.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where they're just looking to output as much damage as possible, which is one of the ways where I could see this Finn working, with the fortified health. If you can just stay alive that little bit of time you need to be able to turn fights onto your opponents. But right now, they're getting pressured very heavily, and it's going to be Slada actually coming out worse for wear off of this fight. Brutal Turtle going all the way back to his turret because he knows his jungle's going to get invaded here. It's just going to be a question of, can he do anything about it, as Grass just has no problems throwing damage onto Brutal Turtle while still working on this Treant. Brutal Turtle is going to fall here, and then Grass takes the Treant away as well. So definitely a less than ideal start for Brutal Turtle to kick things off in game number 3.
Oh, this is true. And also worth mentioning, Tasty, you're talking about the Ringo pick not coming and whatnot. Every series before this series had Ringo pick. This is the first series where twice in a row we, or was it 3 times? Yeah, I don't think we had a Ringo picked in any of these matches. A little bit surprising considering how popular
I think it might have been banned in game 1, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Right now, though, up in the lane, Slada, again, taking a lot of damage. So is Brutal Turtle. The pressure coming out from Jimmy Fan Club. They took them a few minutes to really start putting this pressure on in games 1 and 2. Looks like that loss in game 2 may have motivated them a bit because they are just coming out of the gate swinging here in game number 3.
And they really are going to be able to push that in, push the minion candied wave up to the turret, buys them some time. A lot of this is just rotation time, but you are going to see a 2v2 breaking out in the jungle.
A 2v2 skirmish happening down there, and it's going to actually be standing solo, taking a lot of damage. Will use the healing flask and obviously the heals he has in his kit, but with the rotation from Yazuru, that will be a kill. Now Grass is in trouble as well. Lightning T is trying to rotate over to help. He's going to get here in time to be able to do so. Now, can they turn this actually onto Yazuru? With the Ordained landing the stun, they will find that kill. And again, just the aggressive moves coming out from the side of Jimmy Fan Club. Lightning T, he's actually going to steal away these camps in the back as well. So not just finding the kill, but stealing away camps, just really trying to put members of Echo Fox behind.
Oh, absolutely.
Lightning T, he's being Very risky with this move here, but he wants to steal away this Treant. He does get it, and then can he get out of here? Brutal Turtle, he wants nothing to do with this Black Feather right now, and he is just going to be backing off. And so again, just stealing away gold. Brutal Turtle very far behind at this point, just 7 CS to his name, while everyone else is up over 20 at least. So this is going to be a rough go of things for this Crystal Fortress.
Yeah, and getting a slow start when you're going the Aftershock build always stinks, because you're basically your big damage output is the Aftershock. So as soon as you get it, that's your big power spike for this Crystal Jungle hero like Fortress, or if you're going with Akashka. So until you get there, so every bit that you're behind also, and without an Aftershock, is a little bit more time where you're just kind of like stuck playing from behind. You really don't have a lot of damage at all in your kit. And so if you get pushed out of your jungle early, it can be really hard to get back into the game.
Yeah, you don't have the damage with the Aftershock. You don't have the wave, the camp clear that you need to be able to prevent yourself from being invaded consistently. And members of Jimmy Fan Club, they recognize this, and just look at how aggressive they are being in this jungle. Even with the Crystal Sentry up now, they are still invading and still stealing camps away from Brutal Turtle. There is just not much gold on the map for him to be able to acquire. Because up in this lane, there's still so much pressure being put on by Lightning T that this turret is starting to take a lot of damage. It's a nice quibble from Slater to get some damage down. Death from above isn't going to do enough. There's going to be the turret falling at just 5 minutes in, and they find the kill as well onto the sky. This is just Jimmy Fan Club really kind of flexing their muscle against Echo Fox here in game number 3.
No, it's a big difference from what we saw the first 2 games even. Even though they were up in both of those games fairly early in the mid-game, this is definitely a much stronger start for them. And again, every second that you could try to delay Fortress. Now, Fortress does he does have that Aftershock now, so Brutal Turtle...
Yeah, how much is he going to be able to do with it when he's just getting focused so heavily? Look at the damage coming out of Grass. He has the Clockwork completed. That's not even a damage item, but it still is just that cooldown, the ability to just constantly throw these bad mojos, get empowered, get those shards, or the soul shards up, and then be able to just throw out those empowered bad mojos for so much damage. Slada nearly falling. Brutal Turtle down to a quarter health. The turret has been taken down to about a quarter health, and they are once again just going to clean out this jungle and even stick around because they've got the sustain because of their builds and because of taking down these treants.
Yeah, they do go for the jungle rotation, which I think is smart here. Oftentimes,
very much so.
We did see them also like stick around too far or too long, or at least one member would stay back, and that usually resulted in one of the members going down, and that would allow Echo to kind of start get back into the game. But this time, they're trying to stick together as a unit, and this is a good decision here. Standing Solo does go up to the lane to hold back the minion wave, but only for a split second before the rest of the team shows up.
Yazru gets stunned by the Ordained. There's a lot of damage on the Grass, but with the Fountain coming through and the Verse of Judgment finding a stun, that's a quick double kill for Lightning T. And my goodness, Jimmy Fan Club just firing on all cylinders here in game number 3. 7 kills in 7.5 minutes, and they are almost certainly going to take this tier 2 turret down as well, as Slater does what he can to get out of dodge. Obviously can't be stunned, but will get slowed and silenced by the Ordained. And again, jungle rotation. The jungle just has not gone to Brutal Turtle whatsoever this game.
No, and Slater missed a huge fountain in that fight. Now, I know his team was getting burst down, but he did need to at least try to use it. There's a forced accord that's just into the middle of nothing. And looks like Echo Fox, they are struggling a little bit. Slater needs to probably clean up his act.
Another fight coming right on in with a Dragon's Eye picked up for Grass. Grass isn't even there, and they're still taking this 2v3 fight. This is why they were so confident doing this 2v3 play last time, but now it's not staying as a 2v3. The Fearsome Shade comes out, will split the team, and it's 2 more kills for Lightning T. The Ordained, and Grass does not want to let Yazru go, but he's going to have to, as the turret just does so much damage to him. Does finally get the heal from Standing Solo, but again, now this tier 3 turret already going to get sieged up by the members of Jimmy Fan Club.
Absolutely. The Baptiste so good at zoning a mobile Sky. With those
695 damage onto Sky with the empowered bad mojo. That is so much hurt. And now they get the stun onto Brutal Turtle. There's a big fearsome shade.
Ooh,
will
wow.
find a kill. And my goodness, the Jimmy fan club just able to do so much work.
Not even sure where that damage came
onto the Finn. And now they're not even caring about this tier 3 turret. The minions are there to strip away the barrier, and they can take that one down. Another stun on the Brutal Turtle.
Now they got to be careful here, though, because while they are ahead, they're starting to drop low in health, Tasty. And this is where Echo Fox could try to make them pay for a mistake. But the heal from Adagio, even early, is surprisingly strong right now.
Yeah, I mean, it does scale with health, so that's one of the reasons why the big fearsome shade will keep Lightning T alive and find another kill. My goodness, grass on this Batiste is just devastating the members of Echo Fox. He's not going to find a kill. They both get pulled under the Sanctuary. There's a double kill that's going to be coming out for Slada.
Oh,
that's one of those ones where, you know, it just ends up looking funny on the highlight reels, but it doesn't really it isn't really gonna do enough to turn this game around because they're just so far ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. That is a kind of a misplay. I mean, they probably could have rotated and taken away the jungle. This is going to give Brutal Turtle, I mean, I think his first real rotation, and he's going to be able to share that. He's not going to get his Treant, but he is going to get both back camps and the back Treant. So, for the first time, I believe, in quite some time here in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the CS, 26 CS for Brutal Turtle at 11 minutes. That is just not where you want to be. I mean, Grass only has 40, but it's because he's been farming kills this whole time instead. They once again are pushing in, putting pressure onto the members of Echo Fox, and you know, they have to, at some point, try and get down to those turrets, but for now, it's just all about making sure that Echo Fox cannot get any gold for themselves and just keeping them at bay, forcing them to just stick in their base. You can see the damage coming out, even from long range, is just massive. Echo Fox doing what they can to clear out these minions and make sure that they can't start sieging up these turrets. Forced Accord will get blocked, and that will be a retreat from Echo Fox.
Yeah, a good block would have been followed up probably by a nice stun from the Quibble. And we do have another fight where you're seeing a very, very low Grass.
Yeah, very low Grass. He will actually end up falling here, and so now is when you can start to be a little bit concerned about this potential for a throw here, because they just are being a little bit too careless with this lead that they've got. They're about to give up an ace, perhaps, although Lightning T still putting in a lot of work here. He's actually going to be able to maybe get out of dodge. Slada very low. Lightning T sees that, maybe wants to go for the kill, but look at how much damage he's able to put onto Yazuru. They're doing a job of keeping him at bay just long enough. He's not going to give the ace over as his team has respawned now. Will he be able to find a kill? He gets one. Doesn't quite get a second, but 1v3. Lightning T still able to find a kill there, nearly actually turning that. You still have to, again, be a little bit wary, but now Grass, with two low members, he wants to come in and finish this. Nice block from Yazuru, but Slada, he's not going to be quite so lucky to be able to get out of dodge, and he's going to be falling eventually.
Well,
no, maybe not. He has the reflex block. Fearsome Shade gets dodged, and he's Slada making some plays this game, getting back onto the healing platform and healing on up.
Well, that is a great look. Slada was struggling in the early part of this game, and now he's starting to come back in and he's starting to look like the captain we would expect, who's been playing competitively Vainglory for over a year and helping his team stay alive. I mean, it started off with that misplay in the Sanctuary by Jimmy Fan Club, allowing the pool to pull the entire team into the Sanctuary, basically giving a double kill to Slada. And now followed up, he's been able to, survive. If he had gone down there, that would have been absolutely devastating. The Ordained did go onto Sky at first. Yazuru reflex blocked it, which you have to imagine is a pretty easy reflex block to do. It would have been really, something if you missed it. But you know, that's important at this point. You know, they were behind by a lot. They were over 10,000 gold behind, and now they're starting to find some momentum, and this is not a good look. We already know what happens when Echo Fox finds momentum in a game after the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, it's definitely, again, we're at this situation where you have to be wary. You do still have a massive lead on the side of Jimmy Fan Club. You do still have a large advantage, but you just need to make sure you close this out carefully. You're a minute away, less than a minute away from Kraken spawning. Just play it safe, force the members to stay in their base like you have been doing, but without going over aggressive. Although Crass, he just wants to go as aggressive as he can. Make sure he doesn't get caught out and taken down like he had earlier. So does back off. That's good to see. And now with just 20 seconds till Kraken, they can rotate on over, take out the Crystal Sentry along the way, because that goes down very quickly with this team. And then look for a fight further out from the base like they're doing right now. This is where you want to be fighting. And they're going to start off with that big fearsome shade. Yazuru is going to be staying safe on the back line because of it, but they just melt through Brutal Turtle. Yazuru, the next target, he's going to be slowing up Grass as much as he can, but the Ordained will keep him in place for a bad mojo. And this should be all she wrote, as Slada is going to get taken down for the ace. The execution.
On the execution.
Damage.
Unbelievable.
And now they can just go right onto these Vein Crystal turrets. Brutal Turtle will be back up shortly, but they've already gotten one turret down. They're just going for the second turret. The minions aren't even here yet, but they just don't even care. Brutal Turtle can't really do much to stop this. And now that the minions are there, the barrier is gone. They can melt through that turret, turn their attention onto the Vein Crystal like Lightning T is doing. Meanwhile, Grass just going to keep the enemy team at bay for now as he takes on Yazuru. Vein Crystal still pretty healthy. Yazuru actually doing a pretty good job on the Grass, but can't quite find the kill. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, it is going to be Lightning T able to solo down Brutal Turtle. And this will be Jimmy Fan Club taking an ace and taking the series 2-1. 3 fairly convincing leads and 2 very convincing wins in this series.
Well, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the ticket that they punched to the quarterfinals. That is Jimmy Fan Club getting the win over Echo Fox. It's not a surprise. You know, we did expect Jimmy Fan Club to have this, you know, the skill advantage over Echo Fox. But surprisingly, really, it was just the way they played. It was not clean at any point. Even in this last, I would say this last game was maybe their cleanest, and they still almost gave over an advantage to Echo Fox to start capitalizing on by giving needless kills into that mid to late game. That's one of the things that can just really drive you crazy as an analyst or as anyone when you watch a game, to see a team do so well for one part of the game and then do so horribly the other part. But hey, it's all wiped away because they got the win.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when you look back at the scoreboard, all you will see is the 2-1. You will not see the faltering in during the games, but they were able to find themselves an excellent job. Like I said, 3 large advantages, 3 large leads, and only 2 convincing victories. But definitely a team to be reckoned with, as long as they don't get overconfident for this side of Jimmy Fan Club.
Yeah, well, that concludes our matches for tonight. Everybody, thanks for coming out and watching. It's been an absolute blast streaming these games. We've got one more day of round of 16 games to be played. That will be taking place tomorrow, so make sure you guys tune in tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. Tasty will be back, and we'll be casting more matches for you as we complete it, and then get ready for the quarterfinals next week. Don't miss all the action here live on Vis, and we're live streaming on YouTube, Twitch, and Mob Crush. So make sure you guys follow one of those channels and tune in tomorrow. See you then, guys. Good night. Go.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.